Good afternoon and welcome. This is the HotWheels.com 300 from Homestead-Miami Speedway, Homestead, Florida, just south of Miami. We are having a beautiful southern Florida day. A lot of wind, but also a lot of sunshine for 200 laps of auto racing this afternoon. And good afternoon to you from NBC News, MSNBC, and CNBC on cable. I'm Brian Williams. I'm also on loan, taking this opportunity from NBC Sports to cover a hobby that I love and hopefully let millions of new viewers in on a little secret we've had, we veteran NASCAR viewers, and that is this might be perhaps the best way to spend an afternoon, any afternoon, say nothing of how beautiful this day is. A lot of big stories to cover for you out on the track. Yes, the drama, the rivalry between Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Matt Kenseth, but also all the way down in the field, so many talented young drivers, so many drivers using this as the last best stop before Winston Cup Series on their way up and out of the Busch Series here in NASCAR. So much talent on the NBC team in the booth and in the pits as well. Let's start off with Alan Bestwick. Alan.
Brian, thank you. A great pleasure to be here on behalf of NBC this afternoon. Got an exciting race lined up for you. Of course, just the beginning of our great weekend of coverage, the Winston Cup Series inaugural event from this racetrack tomorrow here on NBC Sports. Now, let's introduce, first of all, one of the members of our broadcast team to help me with the call this afternoon. He's a six-time Winston Cup winning car owner this season, Joe Gibbs. And Joe, established stars like Mark Martin, a lot of young up-and-coming kids in today's race. What do you make of all this?
Alan, if I could use a football analogy, to me, Busch racing is a lot like college football. Everybody wants to get drafted and move up. We got young guys today saying, hey, I am ready. I want to move to Winston Cup. We got some guys that have lost their Cup ride saying, hey, don't forget about me. We got some very talented guys, Dale Jr., Kansas, saying, hey, Winston Cup, here I come. And we got a host of veterans led by Mark Martin, who's won 6 out of his last 13 starts in Busch, saying, hey, I want to run away with this. Very interesting, a lot of drama, going to be interesting for us.
Rivalries, auditions, big stars, all in today's race. The other member of our broadcast team is the most recent NASCAR winner here at Homestead. Mike Wallace won here in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series in March. If this were an Olympic event and we were trying to rate the degree of difficulty here, what do you give Homestead?
Well, and if we're saying a 10 is the most difficult, 8.5 most definitely. This is a very difficult racetrack to get around. Very narrow groove. We're dealing with a lot of wind here today. Blown into turn 2 down the back straightaway. The guys are fighting those setups. Gonna have to work on those setups very tight today.
There you see some of the blustery conditions here at Homestead the drivers face. Let's go back to Brian Williams.
Alan, just like Fenway Park has the Green Monster, we here have something called Turn 4. Allow us through videotape to introduce you some of the action yesterday here during qualifying. Turn 4 is tight, it is fast, it's where the cars here go from a 6-degree angled bank into 3 for the main straight. One man who had a lot of trouble between turns 3 and 4, your pole sitter today, Hut Strickland. In the pits for us today, Mike Massaro with your pole sitter, Hut Strickland.
Thank you, Brian. And one of the reasons why turn 4 is so treacherous this weekend is because of the pole sitter. In his second qualifying lap, Hut Strickland popped an oil line, literally glazing the racing groove for the rest of the field. But his first lap was fantastic. Good enough for his first career Busch Series pole. And Hut, how excited are you to start up front this afternoon?
Oh, I'm overly excited. You know, it's, this team needed that. We need the shot in the arm, and, it hasn't been the greatest of seasons for us. And, not just for me, but for the whole entire team. It's great to end on a good note here at Homestead, and we're pumped up and ready.
Hut Strickland sets the pace this afternoon to Dorsey Schrader.
Thank you, Mike. I'm standing here with a guy that many people here think could win this race today, even though he starts way back in 23rd position. Mark, what went wrong in qualifying?
There was oil on the racetrack down in 3 and 4. A car about 2 or 3 cars before us put down, and it was right where I needed to run, and it was slick, and I was lucky just to get it in.
Well, folks, I'll tell you one thing. Mark won't be in 23rd for long. He'll be charging to the front, and as an added bonus, you can ride with him today as he carries one of our onboard cameras. Now let's go down to Marty Snyder.
Well, Dorsey, before we get this one cranked up, we have a little unfinished business first. That guy down there, Dale Earnhardt Jr., won the NASCAR Busch Series Championship last weekend in Phoenix, but he hasn't got to touch that trophy yet. And to do the honors, Mr. Rick Leininger from Anheuser-Busch, and of course the president of NASCAR, Mr. Bill France.
Great. Dale, on behalf of Anheuser-Busch, our employees, and Busch Beer, we want to congratulate you on your second consecutive NASCAR Busch Series Championship and wish you the best of luck next year going in the Winston Cup, driving the number 8 Budweiser car.
All right.
Congratulations.
Mr. France?
Yes, on behalf of NASCAR, congratulations, Dale, and needless to say, you're carrying on the a family tradition in the right sense of the word. And we look forward to you over in Winston Cup. We're going to miss you in the Busch Series, but the Busch Series is you'll be, I think, the first to say is a great series to certainly get your start in. So congratulations again.
Thank you, Mr. France. Thank you, Anheuser-Busch. It was a pleasure and an honor to be involved in the series the past 2 seasons. It's one of NASCAR's premier series, and it's going to have a strong life for many years to come. It's a lot of fun.
And with a proud papa standing right beside him, the 1999 NASCAR Busch Series champion, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Now back to Brian Williams.
If a crowd could write a postcard on this beautiful South Florida day, it would say, "Wish you were here. You have NBC coverage all afternoon." And while the Busch Series might already be decided, that says nothing about the competition, especially the number 1 and 2 rivalry here. Today, for that matter, a lot of young drivers are looking to make a lot of noise. The Jets are flying over. The race is next.
We are down to the start of the HotWheels.com 300 from Homestead-Miami Speedway. A look at the starting lineup now. Hut Strickland is on pole, his first Busch Series pole position. Jeff Green, third in points, starts alongside. Winston Cupper Ward Burton is in the second row, looking a little bit farther back. Jimmy Spencer, second in a photo finish here last year. He starts back in the 6th position. Couple of other heavy hitters a little deeper in the pack.
Well, definitely are. Joe Nemechek starting 12th, 97 winner. Matt Kenseth back at 17th, 4th last year here.
Mark Martin a little deep in the field too, Joe.
Well, I always like to watch Jeff Burton coming from the back. Burton and Martin side by side, 23, 24, starting 23, 24th. You got Skinner, 31st. It's always fun to watch the guys coming from the back. This will be fun for us to watch this today.
Terrific rivalry today. Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Matt Kenseth getting ready to go. Earnhardt Jr. starting in the 8th position. His rival Kenseth is back in 17th. The final race of 1999 for the NASCAR Busch Series and the first live NASCAR race on NBC. It's the HotWheels.com 300 from Homestead. We're glad you're with us. We're ready for the green flag. Down the back straightaway, Hut Strickland back around Jeff Green into the top spot, turn 3, first time.
So Alan, we drove down that corner, the wind's got him, they're trying to get to the bottom.
Oh, trouble in the corner. 6, 7 cars involved. Matt Kenseth, one of them, the yellow car, upper right of your screen, up against the outside wall. Others still scattering down to the bottom. That's Mark Martin coming up on the lower left of your screen. He had to go to the apron. And there is Kenseth, second in the championship coming in, and his day did not even last a full lap.
Well, that's the unfortunate side that we talked about at the start of the race. They're dealing with cold tires. Tires are down on air pressure.
Kenseth in jeopardy of losing second in the championship standings coming into this event. There's the car of Stanton Barrett, the young driver from California. Also involved, Lyndon Amick, South Carolina. His car with front end damage. Lap number 1. They stacked them up in turn 3. Mike, at the beginning of the race, you talked about the flat corners here, the degree of difficulty of this racetrack. It didn't take long to establish.
No, unfortunately, Alan, with the flat racetracks and the air pressure being down, you can see them getting in turn 3 here. And unfortunately, it looks like the 87 and the 61 kind of closed up the racetrack. Not really run into each other, just kind of got down there and just everybody behind them checked up.
I think that's an example of all those spotters up there. Those drivers are saying, get me to the bottom, get me to the bottom, and that's what they tried to do there, get to the bottom, and there just wasn't enough room. Nobody wanted to go 2 abreast in these corners.
Barrett's car's all the way on the apron going into that racetrack. Did he run in there thinking he had a lane that wasn't there?
Well, I think it can be both. He thinks he's got a lane. He thinks the 87 is going to give him space. You see it coming again.
And behind it's just a mess.
Yeah, it's just a mess when you're behind it, but as Joe mentioned, everybody's trying to get to the bottom. On a flat racetrack, you're scared to be on the outside in the first few laps of the race.
Here is it riding with Matt Kenseth into the corner.
Well, the unfortunate thing you're seeing there, Alan, is that Kenseth was kind of slowed down, going to avoid the wreck, and got help with a hit from the back. That's what happens when everybody starts checking up in front of you.
Look at the rush onto pit road. 2 laps into the race. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars in, including Mark Martin. Dorsey Schrader's in his pit.
Mark Martin's come in with the 60. The left side's been hit pretty hard, but it's just sheet metal damage. I don't think that chassis is hurt at all. Mike?
A lot of damage on the DeWalt Chevrolet of Matt Kenseth. He now rolls into the garage stall. The team awaiting the machine to go to work on it, but damage on all 4 sides. It looks like he got caught up pretty well in that accident up in turn 3.
There's Ron Hornaday on the pit lane. Right front corner damage to his machine. Also saw Dave Blaney with some left front damage to his machine. Jason Keller has been involved in the accident. He's on pit road also.
I think that's one of the things, Alan, if you do not qualify the car well, that always scares me as a car owner. I'm sitting there saying, oh my gosh, no matter how good your car is, and Mark Martin or anybody else is a driver, you now got to come from the back, and if something does happen in front of you, at those speeds, is what we saw over there, there's no way to get out of it.
Early chaos here in Homestead. A lap 1 crash in turn 3. At least half a dozen cars involved, including the second place man in the championship standings, Matt Kenseth, and the superstar, Mark Martin, all damaged in an early crash. Back with more in just a moment. You're watching NASCAR on NBC. We're back at the Homestead-Miami Speedway. Some early mayhem here in the NASCAR Busch Series season finale. Some 8 cars involved in a wreck in turn 3. Here is Matt Kenseth's car, all torn up in the accident. His machine back in the garage. Others involved in the wreck include Stanton Barrett, Shane Hall, Lyndon Amick, Bobby Hamilton Jr., Jason Keller, and Ron Hornaday. Also getting a report that Johnny Benson's car may be trailing some smoke, and we'll keep our eyes on that. For now, though, let's try this again. Pace cars behind pit road. We go back racing 5 laps in. Made it through that set of corners. Hut Strickland is your leader, looking at Hank Parker Jr. there, trying to get a spot away down to the inside of Chad Chaffin, and that's the champion Dale Earnhardt Jr. behind him. So it's Strickland, Ward Burton, Jimmy Spencer, the first 3 coming off turn 4, then Jeff Green, Chaffin, Parker, and Earnhardt Jr., who runs back in the 7th spot.
Alan, I think that's what everybody wanted, single breast. They did not want to go through there. And that's what happened on the start, is two abreast. Now, Mike, many times in those drivers meetings, they're saying, hey, it's 200 laps. Let's don't get a wreck in the first lap. But there, I think, it's just a situation trying to everybody get down.
Definitely get to the bottom. And the one thing that causes it a little bit also, Joe, is everybody's down on air pressure. They're starting the tires down 6 to 8 pounds in air pressure. The cars are a little wiggly at that point, and they just try to get down too quick, and unfortunately caused quite mayhem out there.
Upper left of your screen throughout the afternoon, the latest update from timing and scoring, where everybody's running. You can keep up with your favorite driver throughout the day. Here's a race for position. The 92 car is Jimmy Johnson. That's David Green on the move down to the inside, headed into turn 1. This should be for the 12th and 13th spots.
What you end up finding today, just like what happened with Jimmy Johnson, David Green there. David got the inside run on. Jimmy let him go. He's going to fall back in line. Got to log some laps here. Got to get into the point where they can race this race.
And here's the youngster Casey Atwood on the move, trying to get the 7th spot away from Chad Chaffin. Earnhardt Jr. just by Chaffin a corner ago. And here now is Atwood down to the bottom side off turn 4.
I talked to Clarence Brewer, Atwood's owner, Alan, in the pits a little bit earlier. What he basically said, every single high-profile team just about wins the Cup is going after Atwood. But the kid is saying to everybody, hey, I want more time in Busch, so that's good for him.
Atwood, only 19 years old, has had a lot of success. 2 wins already in the NASCAR Busch Series. To be so young and so talented.
Boy, at some point, a lot of money.
Yeah.
He reached the point where he's going to move on to Winston Cup.
Exactly. Looking back from Atwood's car now, that is Chaffin Racing Elton Sawyer behind him. And right behind the side-by-side race is Kevin LePage, the Winston Cup star, trying to move his way up through the pack as well. Down in the garage area, Matt Kenseth's car being worked on. Mike Massaro has more.
Robbie Reiser and the crew busy at work on the 17 car, trying to get Matt Kenseth back in the race. And Matt, it looked like everything broke loose right in front of you. What happened?
Well, I don't know. There was a bunch of new people starting up front, and we didn't qualify as good as we needed to. And the very first lap, I looked up, and the 61 car was always sideways getting into 3, and I saw the wreck. It slowed down a little bit and got run over from behind and got spun out. So just kind of a chain reaction. That's a bad luck. Got caught up in somebody's mess, but hopefully get the DeWalt Chevrolet fixed and get out there and still try to cling on to second points.
Matt Kenseth still buckled in the 17 car, waiting to get back out under green. Alan?
Matt Kenseth only 66 points ahead of Jeff Green for second in the NASCAR Busch Series Championship. Now, there are some who are of the opinion that second is the first loser as we look at the race for the lead here with Strickland and Ward Burton left and right on your screen. But there's a financial difference between finishing second or third, so this is very costly for Kenseth's team.
Alan, we had Matt Kenseth drive a race for us when Bobby Labonte got hurt in Winston Cup. Jumped in the car, had a great race for us, and finished in the top 10. And this guy's going to have a great future. I think what these guys are pointing towards, he would love to have won the championship.
Yeah.
Didn't, but he's looking forward to Winston Cup. A lot of money, and I think he's going to wind up being a star at that level, and that's what he would like to be.
You can hear it in Matt's voice there. It's like, okay, the day's over. Let's get out, hang on to some points, finish second, move on to our Winston Cup program for next year.
One of the things that happened there in that wreck, Mike, you wind up with the guys in the back like that are looking to try and get past. And I think the qualifying is another race all in itself, and that's why everybody wants to be up front. They don't want to be trapped back there.
It definitely is.
Let's go back and update Mark Martin. Remember, Mark, we saw on pit road with damage from the crash, dropped all the way to the tail end of the field, as you have to when you go onto pit road. But now Mark has moved up and has just gone around a couple of cars here in this last corner that should put him up to about the 28th position. Indeed it does as he crosses the stripe. So, Mike, even with that wrinkled up left side door panel, he's not doing too bad. How's that going to affect him as he goes through the race?
Well, it looks like the damage is behind the tire. Hopefully it didn't get in and damage any of the front suspension. We used to build dirt cars like that to catch the wind a little bit better. So, you know, it's
you're not saying it's going to help him here.
No, I'm not going to say it's going to hurt him, though, if you stop and look at it. You know, it's on the left side of the car. The wheels are good and intact. You know, Mark's probably one of the best racers out there as far as using patience. If the car isn't right now, they'll hopefully ride it out to another caution or something, come in, make some adjustments. They might try to reach in there and beat out the body a little bit. But I look for Mark to go straight to the front here in the full line.
6 wins in 13 starts for Mark Martin, trying to get to victory lane today to bat 500 on the season. Just an incredible record in Busch Series competition. And that's why these guys like the kid in the 22. That's Bobby Hamilton Jr. right behind Mark. That's why they like racing against him, because they get to measure themselves against the very best.
Bobby, just stay right there and learn a lot. That's what you can do. Just follow Mark.
The very best so far today is Hut Strickland, driver from Calera, Alabama, in the 38 car there. He is being pursued pretty heavily now by Ward Burton, who's trying to find a way to get up underneath him. And here's Jeff Burton on pit road. Dorsey Schrader, what's up there?
Jeff Burton's just come in, guys. He's getting the front end taped up. It's been hit pretty hard there. They're also going to go to the rear and jump up the track bar. But no, they just taped the front and he's out of here.
Now that damage to Burton's nose probably came in that first lap wreck. He was one of the cars back in traffic after starting in 24th position that was getting knocked around when everybody jumped on the brakes. So Burton, with that fender flopping loose in the wind, has to make a very costly stop onto pit road. He will probably go a lap down because the leaders are coming into turn 1 now at full speed, and he's just on that access road to the inside of the racetrack. Watch right of your screen. You should see the leaders come by right here as they come off turn 2 and up onto the backstretch. Well, maybe Burton's going to get to stay up there in front of him. There he is. All right, he just stays out on the tail end of the lead lap. Hopefully he can stay there, catch a caution flag, and get back into it.
Yeah, what he's doing, Jeff Burton's trying to win this race. He's not here in a point situation. The car wasn't handling well. He was probably getting a lot of air up under the nose. They brought it in to tape it down, and there goes Ward Burton for a lead.
Here is the race lead off turn 4. As you look at Jeff Burton just ahead, there's Jeff Burton ahead of his brother Ward Burton, and Ward by into the top spot. Second leader of the day is Ward Burton. He's by Hut Strickland here, 16 laps in.
Now there's where you hope a little brotherly friendship goes on, that Ward just kind of rides behind Jeff for a while, or Jeff's going, come on, just stay back there for a little while.
Jeff hoping to stay on that lead lap.
Yeah, I don't know. He might want to get even with Jeff for a couple of his Winston Cup losses he's had running second.
There's Jeff Purvis slow on the racetrack. Purvis up on the top side of the racetrack. Is that left rear tire flat? It looks like it's soft. Indeed it is. So Purvis with a flat tire early in the going here in Homestead. Ward Burton is now the leader after a rough start. You're watching NASCAR on NBC. On a gorgeous afternoon in South Florida, you are watching the season finale for the NASCAR Busch Series live on NBC Sports. Left of your screen is the race leader, Ward Burton. After Hut Strickland, the pole sitter, led the first 16 laps, Burton went out in front. This car, right here on screen, may be the fastest man on the racetrack. This is Rich Bickle. He started back in 34th position. He is up to 15th spot. Also some other guys, Coach, that are on the move in the early going.
Yeah, it really, we got Todd Bodine, Fido, Adam Petty, another one of those young drivers making a charge. And Trickle. Did you know Trickle's as old as I am? What's he doing out there?
Dick Trickle turned 58 years old on October the 27th.
You know, Trickle
Matter of
told me
fact,
this
he's younger
morning.
than I am.
Trickle told me this morning in practice, I said, so how you doing? How you running today? He said, I'm going to wear him out.
There you go. Here's Todd Bodine, the 66 car, on the move from the back of the field. We saw the stats on Todd there a minute ago. Both he and Johnny Benson going around the Adam Petty car for 16th, 17th, and 18th. Black and orange car on your screen there, that's Hank Parker Jr. running in third position right now, trying to get second away from Hut Strickland. Joe, we talked about young guys looking to make a name for themselves. Here's one in that category, and he's doing a terrific job.
Okay, he's got an inside quarter. Just keep digging. Let's race him.
Yeah, they got him racing. Hank Jr., his dad, a big racer himself, too. We used to run into him at a lot of the late model tracks all around North Carolina. He's working his way up, and one of the real talented young guys.
Of course, Hank Parker, better known for being a world-class professional fisherman. This is his son, Hank Parker Jr., who's doing a terrific job here today. Now, right behind him and closing fast is the champion, Dale Earnhardt Jr.
You know, I talked to Tony Uri Jr. this morning. He told me yesterday in practice they weren't sure how good they would be. And I said, did you make any adjustments? Because they were tight in 1 and 2 and they were loose in 3 and 4. They said, nope. We told Dale Jr. to make it happen himself.
Earnhardt Jr. started 8th in the race. It was here 1 year ago that he locked up the NASCAR Busch Series championship in the garage area after blowing up an engine at lap 89, but he had enough points to lock up the title despite the bad finish that day. Comparing last season's championship run to this season's championship run, it's pretty similar.
It's pretty parallel, though.
Well, what you have here is a great team. I think Junior will be the first guy to tell you he has great pit stops. He has a great team. He's got a heck of a crew chief, good motors. They got the whole package in Busch. And because of that, they've dominated the last 2 years. And I think Junior will be the first guy to tell you it takes all that.
Hut Strickland has faded back from this group as Earnhardt Jr.'s rival for the championship for most of the season, Matt Kenseth, comes back on the racetrack 24 laps behind the race leader. He was involved in the big wreck that involved over half a dozen cars in turn 3 in the very first lap. And now he's just out there to see if he can just somehow hang on to second in the championship standings. Nose to tail for the race lead, first, second, and third.
Very good race right here. You know, Dale Jr. is coming up underneath Hank Parker Jr. Cars turning very good, accelerating down the back straightaway.
4-second spot into turn 3. Earnhardt Jr.'s got him on the inside.
I'd say so much for that, Mike. I think he's handling pretty good.
Well, that's what I mean. He turned very well. If you notice, Joe, back off of 2, he got a good run off him off of 2, and that's what helped him accelerate good down the back straightaway. We'll see the comparison here between Ward and Dale Jr. when they get down there again to see how good he's turning in the middle of the corner. What I mean by that is just right about there where the car stays down. If you notice, it's just about a half lane lower than Ward. And you can pick up the throttle a little bit quicker that way.
So, Mike, the idea is to keep that car as low as you can in the corners. Is that right?
Well, you know, the old story is the shortest distance between 2 points is across the center. And the shorter way you can make it around the racetrack, the faster you be. So, yeah, just try to keep it right down there. You see him under the white line.
Eating up the distance between the top 2 as Earnhardt Jr. looks to see if he can get around Ward Burton for the lead. Down to pit road, Mike Massaro.
And Alan, just to give you an idea on what the mindset is right now of your leader, Ward Burton, they're emphasizing patience in the communication between crew and driver. They're not working that car overtime yet. There's still a lot of laps left here this afternoon. Alan?
Change for the lead, as you saw, Earnhardt Jr. by Ward Burton, who basically just pulled over and let him by. Now, Mark Martin was kind of the first guy to figure out the science of, we race better if I let you go than if I run side by side with you.
Definitely. If you run 2 cars side by side, it slows down. And on top of Ward looked at his mirror, spotter was saying, hey, Junior's coming. He got you, let him go. We'll come in, make an adjustment. We'll try to get you as good as him later in the race.
So Earnhardt Jr. is the leader. Now Hank Parker Jr. goes to second, kick Ward Burton back to third. Here's Jeff Green, who is the 3rd player in the championship picture for the season. He is running now in the 7th position and trying to get up to the front few. On board with Jeff.
You know, actually looking at the steering wheel motion there, Jeff's car looks like it's handling pretty well. He's not fighting it. You don't hear the throttle, working with the throttle or anything. Drive off good.
Marty Snyder has more on Jeff Green. Marty?
Well, guys, one man's problem is another man's opportunity. With Matt Kenseth sitting back in the garage making repairs, he was losing time, laps, and points to Jeff Green. Now that Kenseth is back out, he's still 24 laps behind Jeff Green, and that's the focus now for Matt Kenseth. He is only 66 points ahead of Jeff Green, and Jeff has been on a roll lately as he has 3 top 3 finishes in his last 5 races, and he's used this race car the last 3 times that he's run. Right now, Jeff Green is a little bit loose. He's running around 7th, but he's still plenty ahead of Matt Kenseth, and that's their goal for the day.
With Jeff Green running in 7th position and Matt Kenseth back in 41st position, that 66 points that Kenseth had on Green is not going to hold up at the end of this afternoon as you watch Green with the wheels right down below the apron line off 4. There are the championship standings as the race would end now, and you see Green around Kenseth for that 2nd spot. So at this point, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is out in front. Well, he was out in front, changed for the lead. Hank Parker is around Earnhardt Jr., so the youngster leads early here in Miami. You're watching NASCAR on NBC. Back at Homestead, you see the leaders all on pit road. We are under caution for a piece of debris that came off one of the cars in turn 3. Hank Parker Jr. led going down pit road, but his team is getting a penalty as we speak, and it looks like it's going to be who off pit road first? Joe Nemechek will be the first out, and he will take over the race lead after these caution flag stops. Caution for debris up in the corner, slowed the field, brought everybody to pit road just before the caution flag. It was Hank Parker Jr. around Dale Earnhardt Jr. for the race lead, and the yellow, a big break for one driver in particular.
Well, I think the other thing, Alan, is that debris back there can cut a tire. We saw Jeff Purvis earlier in the race. Probably what happened to him after that big wreck, cut a tire. This is smart. NASCAR has to call a caution here. One of the things, though, Mike, is always interesting to me. It's such psychological. If you on those pit stops can move your driver ahead a few notches, he gets excited. When he goes backwards on those pit stops, he doesn't like it.
Oh, I'll tell you what, if you get to go backwards on the pit stops, you're about trying to jerk the steering wheel off that thing and throw it out the window. But the driver Alan was talking about was Jeff Burton. He had come in, taped up the nose of that car, and was just about 5 cars in front of Hank Parker Jr. when the caution came out. So let Jeff circle all the way back around the racetrack, come in, make his adjustments. Now he's got a shot to race to the front of this thing.
So the leaderboard taking a big shuffle here after this round of pit stops. It'll be Nemechek going up to the point. You see Ward Burton running in 2nd. There's Joe Nemechek, former winner here at the Homestead-Miami Speedway in 1997. Now, Hank Parker Jr., who was the race leader going down pit road, he received a penalty on his pit stop, and there's what happened.
Yeah, Mark ran over a tire as he left pit road there, hit the left front. Hopefully didn't do any balance damage to the left front tire area there.
All right, so Mark with problems there. Hank Parker Jr., if you let that tire roll away from the pit crew, they you get held there for a stop. And so that puts him back to the 18th position overall, and that's going to be very costly for Hank Parker Jr. There you look at the Bud 1 airship flying high above the Homestead-Miami Speedway. To all racing fans, this Bud's for you. Budweiser, the official beer of NASCAR, and the Bud 1 airship, proud to provide spectacular aerial shots of our race here today. Spectacular shots of a pretty spectacular speedway. This place pretty nice to come to for a NASCAR race. There's Parker Jr. A very costly stop, goes in leading back to 18th position. Marty Snyder has more on their pit stop. Marty?
And you're looking at Barry Dotson walking away. Right here is the right front tire that got away from Hank Parker, and that cost him a lot of time. He came down running first. He lost a lot of positions on pit road. The man right behind him pitting was Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Earnhardt Jr. did really well on his pit stop. They got out pretty quick, but the thing is they made no changes. They're very happy with the race car. They think they're going to be better on the longer run, and that should help later on today. Dale Earnhardt Jr., no adjustments on this stop.
You know, Alan, we've seen in Hank Parker Jr.'s pits a variety of uniforms down there. That was probably part of his reason of his pit stop. Hank's got a fast race car, but they assembled a group of different guys. They're not his normal team. Like you're looking at Dale Earnhardt Jr. there. He's got his same guys week in, week out pitting that car. And, you know, that's what happens at a race like this where you don't have a good pit stop. Your same guys, you get all backed up.
There you go. In first, out 17th. Earnhardt Jr. in second, out 7th. Ward Burton holds his position. In fact, gains 1. Hud Strickland losing a few spots. And Kevin LePage as well lost a few spots on pit road in 5th and out 10th. Mike Massaro has more on Ward Burton, the second place car. Mike?
And fairly routine service down here as well, Alan. Tommy Baldwin calling for a slight track bar adjustment. They went a half a round down just to tighten that car up a little bit. Took on 4 tires and fuel down here in Ward Burton's pit.
All right, there's Ward running in second spot as we get ready for the restart. Pace car is off, and we go back at it. It is Nemechek, Burton, Spencer, Green, and Jimmy Johnson, the top 5. Earnhardt Jr. on the move, up underneath Mark Martin for 6th spot into the corner as you look at Ward Burton there trying to press the Jeff Purvis car. That's the car that had the flat tire a little while ago, so he's not on the lead lap.
He's definitely working hard to try to get back on the lead lap, though. He had just a problem with a left rear tire going flat. He's going to race really hard to try to get back by the leaders.
One of our announcements in pits earlier was Jeff Purvis will be moving over with Porter Cable as a sponsor next year on the Busch ride, and too bad that Jeff got a tire cut down early.
Do we know somebody that's involved with that?
Somebody may be the owner of that. It's not Mike.
He wouldn't happen to be sitting next to me.
Alan.
Yeah, thank you. So Earnhardt Jr. clears the lap traffic as well and now sets off in front of the first 4 on the speedway. Left to right, Nemechek there, then Ward Burton. Now coming at you, Jimmy Spencer, the white car, then Jeff Green, and the familiar number 3 of Dale Earnhardt Jr.
You know, Alan, that's the same car they ran at Phoenix last week, and they took that car home straight from Phoenix, painted it, had the Superman colors on it last week. The crew was telling me, change colors and sent it down here.
Mike, does a driver, do you have favorite cars? I mean, for instance, in the Busch Series, do you find yourself wanting to go back to the same car?
Oh, definitely, Joe. You know, I think they told me, Tony Uri Sr. told me they had 4 race cars they like to run. That's it. You know, and that's why the turnaround on that car to come here with. Junior's comfortable with it, give him the best he can have.
Looking back at this race between Kevin LePage and Jimmy Johnson for the 8th and 9th spots. LePage taking that spot away from Johnson off turn 4. So put Kevin up a little bit closer to the front. Kevin, a former winner here, 1996. Very emotional day for Kevin. Basically went south from his Vermont home to race in the NASCAR Busch Series with nothing. As we look at the race for the lead, we'll back up to the LePage story in a moment. Here's Ward Burton on the move underneath Nemechek.
You can see what the veterans do, such as Nemechek. Ward got to run on him. There was no reason to try to race him into corner. Checked up a little bit, let Ward have the bottom groove, and went on now racing back.
Particularly this early in the race. Save the tires. If he's better, let it go.
You know, Alan alluded to it earlier. Mark Martin's probably one of the best and the guys that started that first of all. You ever run up on the back of Mark and you're faster, he just pulls over and lets you go.
Now let's talk about Nemechek's car here for a minute. He's losing some ground. He took 2 tires on his pit stop, he and Mark Martin. So that is affecting him against these other cars. How? Obviously, it's not good.
No, basically by grip. You know, the tires he's got on there on one side, he got 33 more laps on them than anybody else does. The tires are starting to wear. He probably did that for a track position reason.
And he's up the racetrack there as they come off turn number 4. Nemechek back a couple of more spots in this last lap. It is now Ward Burton leading. There you look at the top 10. Early, though, in this race, you're watching NASCAR on NBC. Back live in Homestead, Florida on NBC. It is the NASCAR Busch Series. Pretty early in the HotWheels.com 300. Ward Burton is the race leader. We've had 5 lead changes so far this afternoon among a handful of different drivers. Burton out in front now over Jimmy Spencer, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Joe Nemechek, and Jeff Green. You see our Pontiac field summary upper left of your screen, where we keep track of where your favorite drivers are throughout the afternoon. Some names you were expecting to see up front that you will not find in the top several cars. Names like Matt Kenseth, Dave Blaney, Jason Keller, all involved in a big wreck. Some 7 cars involved in a lap 1 wreck, turn 3. The cars involved in that were Kenseth, Stanton Barrett, Shane Hall, Lyndon Amick, Bobby Hamilton Jr., Jason Keller, Ron Hornaday, all involved in that big wreck early in the event. Now you're watching Jimmy Spencer's car, the second place machine, looking up ahead from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. machine. These 2 drivers racing for 2nd and 3rd. Marty Snyder has more on this down on pit road. Marty?
Well, Jimmy having a great run. He had a great run last week at Phoenix, but they are very lucky guys. About 15 laps before the caution came out a few moments ago, Jimmy radioed to the crew, said, I'm coming down pit road, because he thought he had a right rear going down. They talked him out of coming down to pit road and said, just stay out there and let's see if it goes away. And they were debating on coming in. They were going to come in 2 laps after that, before that caution came out. They said, let's stay out there, and they stayed out on the racetrack. and that saved them. They were able to come in when everybody else came under the caution, and Jimmy Spencer now running in second because of a fortunate caution.
There's Buckshot Jones back in 21st position, who has taken a little bit of that pastel-colored paint off the outside of the retaining wall here at Homestead. Let's take a look. Up off turn 2. Oops.
Where he get up off the corner and he was just accelerating hard, got loose. I mean, his car's probably pushing up off the corner. He's turning the wheel so hard that it actually breaks the back of the car loose, got the back of it into the wall. Fortunately, just grazed it. Mostly just body damage, it appears to be.
Hopefully does not have any of those fenders in on the tires, which could cause him a big problem, and he continues, it looks like, up to full speed. Top 3 bypassing the Shane Hall car, spent some time in the garage after being involved in the big wreck back in lap number 1. Also, let's mention that Steve Grissom has gone to the garage. The former series champion has taken the Dale Jarrett-owned machine in behind the wall.
Alan, we saw Jimmy Spencer there running in second. One of my favorite characters, larger than life. He lives a couple of blocks away. He was good enough to draft with us last year when we won at Talladega. And you don't get many friends like that. That all our team voted to take him over a big cake, and they had Jimmy's the man. We go over there, and it's a real close-knit community, and he's a fun guy.
Todd Bodine, we've been looking at, having a terrific run in the early going. Todd started back in 35th position. He's up to 8th, and on the move still. Todd, right of your screen, the red and white number 66 machine. He's trying to catch in order Kevin LePage and Elton Sawyer for the 7th and 6th positions.
I mentioned Jimmy's a good guy. That's if you're not racing. That's right, to hit him. He can get upset with you.
Yeah.
That's a very impressive run by Todd so far. You know, Todd's a really good chassis man. He understands the shock and spring combinations a lot more than some other drivers do, and he's also running a Winston Cup car here this weekend, and that additional track time's probably helped him in his Busch Grand National car.
Troubles qualifying for this team has set them up for several of these kind of runs throughout 1999. Start in the back, wind your way all the way to the front. The surprising thing, the most surprising thing for Todd Bodine and his team this season, no wins. A lot of folks thought they'd contend for the championship. They're 4th in the final points. It's where they're going to finish regardless today, but no wins.
That is very surprising, Alan, because, you know, Todd's a great talent in this series and has a great race team there. And, you know, it's just one of those years. And I don't know, Joe, maybe you can describe what can cause that. You know, you work really hard, you got everything in line, but you just can't get it done.
I'm always surprised that, for instance, like Jeff Burton starts in the back quite often. Some teams just don't qualify well and yet run real well. And I'm amazed at some of those drivers, how well they can relate to a crew chief, what the car is wrong with the car, and they're able to move to the front. Like I think it's one of the talents the drivers got to have.
Earnhardt Jr. around Jimmy Spencer for second. You see the big hunk of rubber he kicked up going down the back straightaway that bounced off of Jeff Green's windshield? That can't be fun when you're a driver.
No, it isn't. And where that's coming from, Alan, is the tire wear. Tires start to shred like little pieces when they build up, and you run over them with the hot tires, and they pick them up and throw them out from underneath the car.
Ward Burton is the leader over Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jimmy Spencer, Jeff Green, and Joe Nemechek. Closing in on halfway, you're watching NASCAR on NBC. Welcome back to NBC's coverage of NASCAR. Today from the Homestead-Miami Speedway, the HotWheels.com 300 season finale for 1999 for the NASCAR Busch Series. Tomorrow, the inaugural Winston Cup event for this beautiful South Florida Speedway. You'll see it live on NBC Sports. We hope that you'll be with us. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is the leader. You're riding with Mike Skinner, one of the Winston Cup stars who'll be in that race tomorrow. In this afternoon's event, he is mired back in 24th position, started 31st. He's made some progress toward the front, not as much as he would like, but there's the man making all the headlines right now, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Already locked up the Busch Series title for 99, and he's trying to do it in pretty good style by winning the season's final race.
I'll tell you what, there's no better way to end a year in the Busch Grand National Series and then go on to your Winston Cup career next year. You've won the championship. Let's go out and win this thing. That's all they're thinking. They have nothing to lose, everything to gain right here.
To a certain extent, Mike, a lot of the pressure's off, isn't it? Hey, he just let it roll.
He has no pressure right now. He'll just go do the best job he can. Whatever happens, happens. And you can tell by that, look at the performance. They got a great team. Dale's doing a good job. Man.
I kind of sensed that in the trophy presentation. He said, hey, look, man, we were talking to him earlier this morning. He said, hey, I'm ready to roll, and this is fun. The pressure's over.
We're kidding him yesterday. He's got a new do this weekend. Now, Dale Jr. kind of likes to show up about every 2 or 3 weeks with a different hairdo, and he had to do it here this weekend. I asked him if that was the championship due or not, and he said, it was just something to do.
A real quick story there, Alan. Last week they did a roast for Ron Hornaday out of California, and they put on a Mohawk white wig and says that's your new due to go to Busch Grand National racing with.
Kevin LePage and Hank Parker Jr. racing for 8th and 9th spots here. Remember, we documented the problems for the 53 car on his pit stop. Let that tire roll across the pit lane. The penalty for that dropped him back to 18th in line on the restart. So he's not doing too bad. He's moved back up to 9th spot.
He's got a very good handling car. It's driving well. He's working his way to the front. And he's being very smart as a young driver, just to be patient.
Up front to the second position, Jimmy Spencer. Try to get Ward Burton right behind Spencer. You're looking forward from the nose of Jeff Green's car as he gets underneath Spencer off 4.
Spencer got a little loose, didn't he, Mike? I mean, that was a great shot.
It definitely did. You can see Jeff got underneath him there, his left rear. Sometimes you can take some air off the spoiler. You notice Jeff was totally on the apron of the racetrack getting the pass. We noticed earlier this year when I won the truck race here that you could run down on the apron of this racetrack and actually make your car handle a little different if it's tight.
Terrific view there looking back from the Jeff Green car at Spencer coming up off the bottom of the racetrack turning into the corner. If you want a good visual description of what a tight race car is, tight being when the front end of the car won't stick when you're trying to turn it left. Spencer's car is it right now as he slides up off that white line on the bottom of the racetrack at each end of the speedway.
And what happens sometimes, Alan, your car is so tight, you're trying to turn the wheel so much getting off the corner, as we seen with Buckshot Jones earlier, it actually makes the car loose off the corner after it finally starts turning.
Hey, here's something to check out for Dale Earnhardt Jr. In all the years the NASCAR Busch Series has been around, 1982 the series was first formed, okay? Only one time in all of those years has the season's champion won the year's final race.
Really?
All the way back in 1983, the great Sam R did it as we watch Hank Parker Jr. having dispensed with Kevin LePage for the 8th spot, go after Elton Sawyer for the 7th position.
Well, I tell you what, sitting in Hank Parker's shoes right now, that's a joy as a driver right there. Your car's turning good up off the corner. You see I can accelerate.
Coming inside you. Coming inside.
You can hear the spotter from Elton Sawyer saying, inside, inside, let him go, get back down.
That's what we talked about as an example, getting set back on the pit stop there and everything that happened to Junior. But that looks like a darn good car right now, Mike. You'd probably like to be in that.
Oh, definitely. You know, from a driver's side, that's what you want to be.
Barry Dodson there helping out Hank Parker Jr. today. Let's go to Marty Snyder in his pit.
And you're looking at Barry Dodson, and he's one of the main reasons that Hank Parker's coming up to the field. Remember, after that pit stop and the penalty, he came out 18th. He's now up to 7th and moving through the field. He is just as fast as Dale Earnhardt Jr. And Barry doesn't have on a radio right now, but every once in a while he picks one up, calms Hank down, and he did that right after the pit stop. He said, hey, listen here, just take your time, be patient. You're a young guy. You've got a fast race car. We're going to get back through this field. Don't worry.
Hank Parker Jr., a 25-year-old from Denver, North Carolina, his 31st Busch Series start. Behind him, here's Kevin LePage and Elton Sawyer, the two drivers going at it now for 8th and 9th spots.
Mike, Barry Dodson's a veteran crew chief. That's got to help, doesn't it, with a young guy like that? I mean, being able to talk, at times you do need to calm him down.
Well, you definitely do.
Or encourage him.
Yeah, well, Barry started the year working for Hank Parker Jr., you know, to start a new race team and chose to go do a few different things. But Barry's very good as a veteran of how to calm him down, how to run the race, how to be there when it counts.
Good look back from the race from LePage and Sawyer up to the race leader Earnhardt Jr. And that distance in time, that equates to 4.12 seconds. Dale Earnhardt Jr. leading at Homestead. You're watching NASCAR on NBC.
We're back with you, Brian Williams, with you from Homestead, Florida, the HotWheels.com 300, and I am joined in our midfield booth by the 3-time Winston Cup champion, Jeff Gordon. We're going to read the paper, Jeff, since we do news, weather, and sports out here. Guess what became a huge sports story this week? NASCAR rolls to new networks. NBC is part of the NASCAR television family. Again, we'll have more on this tomorrow. And how is it, since I do news at home, I am your co-host following this race?
I don't know exactly how that came about, but we're really excited about having NBC on board, especially this weekend on their first venture into NASCAR, and looks like it's going to be a bright future with them.
Jeff and I will be co-hosting NASCAR Behind the Scenes for any first-time viewers, even some veterans, if any of you are out there that actually haven't seen this before. It's hard to believe. Were you good on flat tracks as a kid? Because what we got here basically is a flat track.
Well, you know, flat tracks are the toughest tracks to get around, and slick tracks as a kid racing dirt was very tough to get a hold of, and so I definitely think they taught me how to be a better flat track racer. But I gotta say, I like the fast high bank tracks, so we're working pretty hard to get a little bit better on these flat tracks, especially here in Homestead.
Sensitive topic, Pontiacs, the top 6 out of 7. What's going on here between body styles and makes of cars?
Well, I don't know if I can say a whole lot because we're trying to come out with a good 2000 Monte Carlo, and we hope we've got a good package. But I tell you, those Pontiacs are very, very tough right now, and we're doing everything we can just to keep them in sight.
And in the business of downforce, especially at a tricky track like Homestead, of course, the inaugural race weekend for NBC Sports. Back up to Alan Bestwick in the booth.
Brian, thank you. Joe Gibbs was sitting here waiting to see what Jeff Gordon had to say about those Chevrolets. Joe being a Pontiac team owner, and we'll just let that one float for now.
No, what's amazing to me, let's look at the stats here. Jeff, and supposedly they look at the Pontiacs, got all this down for. Jeff has won 7 races. If there haven't been a few mechanical things, he probably have 10. I'm amazed that we are focused on the Pontiacs here.
The kid, Hank Parker Jr., black and orange car number 53 coming at you, continues to roll back up toward the front. Led earlier in the event from lap 32 to 33. Then a caution came out, a tire rolled away at a pit stop, fell back to 18th. He's now back up to 5th. Has just gone around Joe Nemechek there. You see Nemechek fighting with Todd Bodine for 6th and 7th spots.
You know, Jeff brought up the point about good on flat tracks. In fact, he came over and raced a lot of dirt. Tony Stewart raced a lot of dirt. It seems like those guys that kind of grow up on that, Alan, seem to have a little bit, Mike, of an advantage when it comes to the flat, slick type tracks.
Well, I can talk very positive about that. I grew up racing a lot of dirt, won a lot of races on dirt racetracks, and I think it gives you a little bit better car control, a little feel of it. You know, if the car gets a little loose, you're not scared to, you know, hustle up a little bit. You know, we used to run those half-mile flat track dirt races and go up there and find the berm and try to run off of it. But these type of races, you'll have to finesse a car around.
That is Elton Sawyer passing the lap machine of Gus Wasson, the Ohio youngster in the white number 96 there, not for position. Off of turn 4, Wasson running back in 37th as you look at the field summary upper left. Let's point out a couple of things here that have gone on in the early going. The one car, red and white machine, right of your screen there, that's Randy LaJoie. He started 39th. He's up to 13th position. Make it 12th now as he's gotten another one here in the last lap. So LaJoie on the move. A little bit behind him, Jeff Burton, who got dinged up in the big lap 1 crash. Had to make a green flag pit stop to get the hood taped. Got a caution to barely stay on the lead lap. He's come all the way back through to 16th position. Mark Martin right behind him in 17th after being damaged in the lap 1 crash. And also let's mention Tim Fedewa, the Holt, Michigan native, started 40th. He's up to 20th spot. So those drivers picking their way toward the front. Race for position here. Johnny Benson moving through the screen with David Green and Randy LaJoie behind him as Dale Earnhardt Jr., the race leader, puts another lap on his championship rival for much of the season, Matt Kenseth.
You know, that's a depressing day for Matt right there. You know, he's trying to wanted to win the race, go out in style, and there goes the champion again. You're trying to finish second to him, putting him a lap down, additional laps down right now is fairly depressing for the driver.
Yeah, 23 laps down to be specific.
There's no longer day, believe me, I can tell you as a car owner, standing over there, you're down 15, 20 laps, and you got to go out there and ride all day long.
You want to go get in your airplane and go home, don't you, Joe, from an owner?
I want to leave. Can I leave?
Yeah.
Let's also mention Steve Grissom. I talked a little while earlier that he had gone behind the wall. It was a rear end gear problem that has put Steve Grissom out of this race, and he will finish in 41st position. The only other driver retired from the event would be Lyndon Amick, who was involved in the big first lap crash, and his car has been retired with too much damage to continue. There's Matt Kenseth, just kind of idling along back in 39th position with the front end and the back end all band-aided up, limping around here trying to finish out this season as best he can. It's been a terrific season for Kenseth, no question about that. It's been a terrific rivalry between Matt Kenseth and Dale Earnhardt Jr. The two of them really raised the level of competition and have a lot of respect for competing with each other.
It's fun to get along with somebody that you race with, especially that end up being pretty close in points and racing for a championship and stuff. But just like when you have a friend from school, it's not fun to get beat by him every time. So I would have liked to beat him this year and had been at least even before we go to Winston Cup.
Not fun to get beat by him every time when you got a friend from school.
Yeah, he couldn't have summed it up any better, could he? There's the rivalry. Like he said, he wanted to be even coming into this race if he could, race him for the championship down to the end. It didn't happen that way. You know, no matter how you start your year and race throughout it, Matt's won races this year, just you have some bad luck and other teams don't. That's just what happens.
I mentioned Matt filled in for us in one race. He was just that way in the car. Very cool, calm, collected.
Yep.
Here he is in a Winston Cup car, you know, making a, it's got to be an exciting start.
Clear about
He's very
3.
cool all day long.
So Matt back 23 laps down.
A couple more coming outside. Be clear behind the 53 right there.
What you're hearing is a spotter helping Matt just say, you know, there's cars coming. You know, I want to jump off that. Look at Hank Parker Jr. I mean, he's just driving straight to the front of this thing. It's unbelievable how good his car is running and the job he's doing.
Going after 4th spot on the Winston Cup veteran Jimmy Spencer. Parker by into the spot. What a race car he's got today. So Parker moving toward the front. Can he get up there and challenge Dale Earnhardt Jr. for the race win? We'll find out shortly. We're just past 100 miles at the HotWheels.com 300. We'll be right back. You're watching NASCAR on NBC. Back at the Homestead-Miami Speedway, where Dale Earnhardt Jr., the 1998 and 1999 NASCAR Busch Series champion, is trying to put the exclamation point on a tremendous season. He leads the HotWheels.com 300. You're watching live as NASCAR comes to NBC Sports. Log on to NASCAR.com for your online source to America's hottest racing circuit. All the news, results, and a real-time look at the championship standings before and after each race, plus audio wrap-ups, and check out a special cyber chat with some of NASCAR's biggest stars. NASCAR.com, the official site of the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing. There is this season's Rookie of the Year, Tony Raines, who has just been overtaken by the race leader, Dale Earnhardt Jr. A little race summary for you. Only two caution flags in the race so far. We had the big wreck at lap 1 and then a caution for debris up in turn 3. 40 of the 43 drivers still on the racetrack, and 6 lead changes during the course of the race among 5 different drivers. So that is the way things look here as we approach the midway point of today's event. Dale Earnhardt Jr. continuing to motor on. And let's go down to pit road and get an update from Marty Snyder.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr. is just walking away from the field. And the scary part, guys, is that his car has just now come to him. He wasn't happy with it early in this run. It was a little bit loose, which means the back end kind of wants to slide around on him. But now it's tightening up the longer you run. And that is a characteristic of this racetrack. The longer you go on a run, the tighter the car gets. And it's just now come to him. He just radioed to Tony Erie Sr. and said, hey, this car is awesome, guys, and I'm really happy. So Dale Earnhardt Jr. really good on these long runs, starting to come on just now.
Earnhardt Jr. looking like he's just out for a Saturday afternoon cruise down Biscayne Boulevard.
Hey, Mike, it looks like he's not even working here. This guy's, he's going to give his money back.
You know, this is a perfect driving race car, and you can see the very little bit of hand movement right in this area right here. You'll see a little vent hose that's blowing cool air down into Dale's chest coming out of the window. You know, it works out really well. You see that hose, and it's working right here. Up checking the mirror, coming off the corner. I mean, that's a perfect day right there. It doesn't get any better than that.
Now, for all of us who are out there telling people who are non-believers that race drivers are athletes, and somebody's looking at that video and saying, oh, sure, but days like that and race cars like that are few and far between.
Out of 31 races, you're only going to have about 2 that way all year long. You know, it's so amazing when your car's running really well, it's easy on it. When it's not handling well, that's the struggle. That's when the days are hard. You earn your money on those days.
Right now, a bunch of these guys in the back of the field, they're praying for a caution, Alan. They want this thing. He's getting ready to lap a lot of people.
He's just put a lap on Jason Keller, and now he's put a lap on Adam Petty. So the caution is going to come too late for the 4th generation of the famed Petty family. Adam in that multicolored 45 car, just going a lap down. He's running back in 31st position.
Well, I can tell you from a driver's standpoint, that's a horrible feeling where like Adam's out and Jason Keller were out there. That Dale just comes driving on by him, and you know, it's like,
doesn't that make you mad?
You know what really makes you mad is when your spotter's up there and going, hook on with him, hook on with him. And it's like, if I could hook on with him, I wouldn't be getting lapped by him, you know?
Yeah. I heard a conversation between a driver and a spotter. It might have been about a month ago at a race where some conversation like that, and the driver keyed the microphone and had just such an exasperated tone in his voice and said, I'm doing all I can.
Yeah. It's, I tell you what, every driver gives it 100% out there every day, and just.
So Dale Earnhardt Jr. just kind of cruising along here in the middle stages of the race, but plenty of miles to go and another couple of rounds of pit stops coming up. So we'll see. Things can change in a hurry in these races. You're watching NASCAR on NBC.
NBC Sports coverage continues. Brian Williams with you from Homestead, Florida, painfully close to the Cuba of this man's youth. El Duque of the New York Yankees, a new World Series champion. Orlando Hernandez among those taking in this race on a beautiful day. A word about the weather and the track. Ward Burton a short time ago on the radio talking with his crew, reminding them they qualified in near darkness here last night. A cool and crisp Florida night. Conditions the opposite today for the most part. We have gone into periods of heavy clouds. That can affect track temperature, that can affect tire temperature, and grip and bite on a track already described by our own Mike Wallace as already temperamental going into this today. Back up to the booth and Alan Bestwick.
Brian, thank you, with Joe Gibbs and Mike Wallace. And Mike, the track conditions changing by the moment, which probably gives some of those pursuing Dale Earnhardt Jr. a ray of hope.
Well, they're hoping so. You know, you're hoping the racetrack changes to you. What they're really hoping for, most of the field right now is hoping for a caution.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's just a flat the way it is. You're saying, come on, piece of debris. You're looking for something to fall off somebody's car. I know at times I've said, debris on the back straightaway. He says, where? I said, just believe me, there's debris back here.
Yeah. And the people in the NASCAR control tower look at you just about to get lapped and say, yeah, right.
Yeah, right. we aren't buying it.
Watching Jeff Green racing Jimmy Spencer. Green in the 32, Spencer in the 12 for 4th and 5th, trying to dive underneath the Chad Chaffin and Jeff Fuller cars, 77 and 42 respectively. Turn 3, had to make a little bit of a brave move there to take the traffic and keep Spencer behind him. Green did.
Mike, are we starting to see a two-lane racetrack? I noticed some guys are starting to run up high now.
What you're starting to see is tire wear, Joe, and they're just leaving the race cars run up the racetrack. They're not trying to wear the tires anymore. If you try to keep the thing pinched to the bottom of the racetrack, it wears the tires additionally. You notice here on Jeff Green's car, this is one of the big areas right in here. This is what we call the track bar, and that's what you can adjust on the car to get more bite, more side bite. Right in this area here, you can lower that down this way or raise it. If you lower it, it tightens the car up. If you raise it, it loosens the car up, makes it turn freer through the corner.
And Green losing a position to Jimmy Spencer, as you saw from the external shot there. So Spencer by to 4th, Green back to 5th, and so they may need to move that track bar when they get a crack at pit road here in a little while. Let's talk about stops here for a second. The leaders were all in under the second caution at lap 33. So given about a 75-lap window or so for pit stops, we should see them in the next 10 to 15 laps. We're at lap 97 now.
Alan, that's going to really be important. If this is green flag pit stops, you're really going to see the teams with great crews that can get them in and out. This could be a big edge right here.
The other big thing, Joe, to worry about here is the entrance and exit to pit road. We're entering pit road off of turn 3. It's about a mile in length by the time you enter pit road, go down pit road, and get back off of pit road off of turn 2. So there's a lot of speed that can be made up. To the entrance is pit road, you got a pit road speed down, and when you get to the end of pit road, how fast you can accelerate off to turn 2.
Here's Todd Bodine trying the outside off of turn 2 as he tries to get up and around Jeff Green for the 5th position. Bodine started way in the back, 35th position, and he is trying to get around Jeff Green there for that number 5 spot. There's Bodine. Boy, look at him go up the racetrack, both ends of the Speedway now. We saw him way up there in turn 1, and now again in 3 and 4. Why would he be doing that, or is he not voluntarily doing that?
Yeah, most likely, Alan, he's not voluntarily doing it, but he's leaving the car run the fastest place it can. He's probably got someone reading him lap times, and he's just letting it drift up, kind of diamond in the corner, as we call it, and being able to accelerate off. You know, this time in the run, when you're chasing leaders down and other people, that your crew chief is normally reading you lap times, and you just move around until he says, good lap, go back there, and you know, that's what he's doing.
Up off the bottom of the racetrack once again as the leader comes to the start and finish line, takes the halfway signal, 100 down and 100 to go. So Dale Earnhardt Jr. now has crossed the 150-mile mark in this event and hangs on to the race lead.
Okay.
Looking back, Hank Parker Jr. is 2nd, Ward Burton is 3rd, Jimmy Spencer is 4th. You see the field summary there, upper left of your corner. Jeff Burton has recovered to the 11th spot. Whoa, Todd Bodine way up in the marbles in turn 4. Terrific job to keep from crashing the machine and getting it turned around up there and all the little bits of rubber that the cars have thrown off from their tires.
I would say Todd right now is screaming, "Get me in there." You may see him on an early pit stop here.
Now Jason Keller is not catching him for position. Keller's a lap down, but there's Joe Nemechek, who is catching Todd Bodine and trying to get that spot away. That'd be 6th position.
Alan, what we're talking about, right about here, the entry into pit road and the exit off of pit road. Off of turn 2, entry in. They got to go all the way around this area. Pit road speed starts here, stops here, trying to accelerate up through here.
So we're going to try and keep track of the cars as they come in that entrance to the pit road access area and out, because the driver can gain or lose a lot of time on what they call your in lap and your out lap, not just while you're at the pit road speed limit from the first to the last pit boxes. Beginning to see some green flag pit stops now. Here is the Hut Strickland car is in, and now that's Jeff Green, the 5th place machine, who drops onto the pit lane for service. This is at lap 102. And let's follow the man who will take over second of the championship standings if he can hang on to a top 10 finish in today's race. Marty Snyder with the stop of Jeff Green.
Jeff Green is coming down pit road. Our pole sitter Hut Strickland already on pit road. They are extremely tight, but Jeff Green making it to his pit stall right now. He got a little bit tighter the longer they went, and they're going to make a track bar adjustment on Jeff Green's car. 4 tires and gasoline for both of these guys, and they'll be back out on the racetrack.
Remember, we talked about that track bar Mike Wallace was talking about a minute ago? They had the wrench in the adjuster bolt there on that right rear corner of the car, Mike, and gave it a big twist.
They definitely do. I showed the left side of the part that's attached to the rear end, but you can adjust that to the right side. There's a little piece of all thread that runs up and down. You can raise or lower it. This is where the area he's trying to gain as much speed as he can to get off, to get that speed back up and down the back straightaway.
Keeping an eye on the race leader, Dale Earnhardt Jr., to see when he'll give up his spot on the racetrack to come in for service. Here's Kevin LePage in. He was up and among the top 15 cars. Now he's getting service. Now that adjustment they just made on that car wasn't to the track bar. That was a different adjustment.
That's what they call a wedge adjustment. That's putting it in and loading the spring on the car. The right rear spring, they're putting bite in or taking bite out. There's another adjustment. You can tell everybody's making, that's a wholesale adjustment right there.
you can see a real problem on the right rear there also.
There's the 3rd place car. Ward Burton is in.
And Ward Burton now in. He has hit his mark absolutely perfectly. Team wielding around to the right side, going to work there. He's been complaining this car's been just a little bit loose. He'll make a slight air pressure adjustment, trying to tighten that car up. A 4-tire change, 2 cans of 76 racing fuel. Good stop for Ward Burton.
17.4 for Burton. A little bit better than Jeff Green's stop that we saw a minute ago.
I think, Alan, that's going to show. That's where the Winston Cup guys that drive Winston Cup on a week-in, week-out basis got the crews to really help them. That's going to shine on these green flag pit stops.
Here's Mark Martin in getting service. Tony Raines, the Rookie of the Year, pulls out from behind Martin and heads back onto the racetrack. Trouble there on the left front tire for Martin's car. And you see costs him a lot of time. 22.6 there for Mark.
You know,
Joe, so he'll head back out. Go ahead.
Joe, that's to elaborate on what you were talking about, a good stop or a bad stop earlier. You almost want to rip the wheel off the thing on a stop like that.
Riding with Dale Earnhardt Jr. as he woes down to the 45-mile-an-hour pit road speed limit. That done by NASCAR to put a little bit of a margin of safety in there for the guys that go over the wall. There are Earnhardt's crewmen ready to go to work right in front of our Marty Snyder.
And 45 miles an hour for Dale Earnhardt Jr. is 4,100 RPM in second gear. They, of course, don't have a speedometer in the car. Of course, they're going to make no changes to this car. They are very happy with it. Just 4 tires and fuel for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Again, he's very good on the long run. A little loose on the short run, but the car tightens up the longer he goes. They're going to take 4 tires, 2 cans of gasoline in the car. Dale Earnhardt Jr. drops the jack in 17.4 seconds. A good stop for these guys.
Not bad.
Excellent stop there for Dale Jr.
Now he goes through the process, as we've been describing, of getting up that long, flat access road out onto the racetrack. Out the right rear window, you can just barely see. There's Hank Parker Jr., who took over the race lead when Earnhardt pitted. Just going to squeeze by him and put him a lap down. Though Parker has to come down pit road for a stop. In fact, there he goes now as he pulls over to hit that access road. So we go back to Joe Nemechek now. There's Parker on the access road coming into pit road. See the car twitch there on him a little bit.
What's happening there, he's trying to hustle the speed up so much along with getting under brakes to get it slowed down. That's basically loose getting.
Last time on pit road under the caution, this team had a mistake. Let's see if they can go error-free this time and keep him up there with Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Feeling a little bit of pressure, these guys are. They got a penalty the last time, as you mentioned, Alan. They want to have a perfect pit stop, and that was Barry Dotson's call to leave him out there on the racetrack to gain 5 extra bonus points for leading a lap. You get 5 points when you do lead a lap. They're going to go to the right side. And remember, we told you a little earlier, Hank Parker Jr. is just as good as Dale Earnhardt Jr. is, so they're going to make no adjustments to this car. He also is good on the longer runs, and they're having a little bit of trouble with the right rear as they come around. This is going to be a long stop for Hank Parker Jr.
Wow, 23.1 for Hank Parker Jr. So it's got as good a car as Earnhardt Jr.'s apparently on the racetrack, but they're hurting him a little bit on pit road. Here's Spencer, who took over the lead when Parker Jr. pitted. Spencer rolling you the attention of his crew. Let's go back once again to Marty.
And Jimmy Spencer was a little tighter than he wanted to be, so they're going to make a wedge adjustment, try and loosen him up just a little bit. 4 tire change as everybody else. 2 tires did not work too well for Joe Nemechek, who took them earlier. So everybody on this end of pit road pretty much taking 4 tires and fuel, as we mentioned. Spencer just a little bit tighter than he would like to be.
Jack not up high enough. See the left rear tire man waving at him. Get it up higher so I can tighten the tire down. And it cost him some seconds, which is time on the racetrack.
These cars that are handling well, Mike, also, they make faster pit stops because you don't have to be fooling around, putting wedge in, taking wedge out, taking a rubber in or out. So the cars that are handled well, it has a tendency to help them on pit stops also.
That's exactly right, Joe, you know, because they're only doing their normal function, which is changing tires. And
Busch Beer, the official sponsor of the NASCAR Busch Series, presents the Busch Moment.
NASCAR racing made its Miami area debut in November of 1995. A sellout crowd of over 60,000 fans witnessed Dale Jarrett take the inaugural checkered flag. Series regular Kevin LePage held off Winston Cup veterans Mark Martin and Terry Labonte to win the 1996 fall event, while Randy LaJoie clinched his first NASCAR Busch Series title. Former Busch Series champion Joe Nemechek won the 1997 race, an event filled with great emotion. Joe dedicated his victory in memory of his brother John, whose life had been claimed in a racing accident earlier in the year. Randy LaJoie became only the 3rd driver in the history of the series to win back-to-back Busch titles. Last year's photo finish shows that NASCAR Winston Cup regular Jeff Burton barely beat Jimmy Spencer. As Burton celebrated in Victory Lane, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was crowned with his first Busch Series championship. Back in Homestead, Joe Nemechek has made his pit stop. He was one of the front runners before we left. Todd Bodine was the race leader when we went away. He has just been on pit road for his service, handing the lead back over to Dale Earnhardt Jr. now that the cycle of stops is complete. Interesting, though, that Bodine was able to run so much farther on fuel than the other people, and we will talk just a little bit more about that shortly. Now, on pit road and off pit road time, we were showing this with Mike a little bit earlier in the telestrator. Look at the difference between the total time it took to get on and off pit road for those drivers.
Well, you look at Dale Earnhardt at 1 minute and 8 seconds, Ward Burton 1 minute 10 seconds, and Hank Parker Jr. 1 minute 19 seconds. He lost, 9 seconds on and off pit road.
So that is the total time from when he went onto the access road off the racetrack in turn 3 and then got back onto the racetrack off the pit access road in turn 2. He lost a few seconds on the pit stop, but the driver lost a few more seconds. And we're not trying to pick on Hank, but those numbers add up to space on the speedway.
And those crew chiefs, I've heard our crew chiefs a lot. Hey, you're racing all the way in and all the way out, so they're trying to encourage him.
Well, definitely it is. Hank went into pit road 4.5 seconds behind Dale Jr. when the stops were. And right now he's 12.8 seconds behind the leader, so it shows what it proves on the racetrack.
Lessons a young driver must have to learn. We mentioned Joe Nemechek was in for his pit stop a minute ago. He's back on the speedway in 7th spot. Dorsey Schrader has an update on Joe.
Well, guys, when Joe Nemechek came in, he said, don't touch the cars, put 4 tires and fuel in. They were hoping to get to the lap 113 or 115 before they pitted, going the whole way on fuel. They didn't make it. They came up 2 laps short of that. It's going to be very tight. They're still hoping.
So Nemechek may try and squeeze the rest of this distance out on the tank of fuel that he has on board. That'll be an interesting scene. And Todd Bodine pitted later than Nemechek did. So we'll follow up on those stories in a minute. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is the race leader, trying to lock up the championship season in fine style by putting the exclamation point on it and winning the race. We'll follow his pursuit of victory when we come back to Homestead in a moment. Earnhardt Jr. leads Ward Burton, Jeff Green, Hank Parker Jr., and Jimmy Spencer. You're watching NASCAR on NBC.
Brian Williams back with you from Homestead-Miami Speedway, home of the HotWheels.com 300. You are looking at Adam Petty, of course, the scion of the Petty Racing family. Said to be suffering an illness all weekend long. His crew is having a hard time over the radio raising him. He's evidently trying to get his job done today quietly and all by himself. Of course, a point Alan Bestwick made earlier, for those who don't believe drivers in this business are athletes, it is not uncommon on a hot day on a hot track to lose 7 or 8 pounds at this job. Alan, back up to you in the booth.
Brian, thank you. Watching Dick Trickle here, having just been the last of the lead group of cars to make a pit stop, and just sneaking into the screen on the right there in the red and white 66 car, that's Todd Bodine. We mentioned that he was the last of the leaders to pit. Todd showing up in 9th position now, and we believe he's going to try and make the finish on the tank of fuel that he has on board. And everybody else, most everybody else, is probably going to have to stop if we don't see another caution for at least a splash of fuel. So building some drama into the finish of this one here, even though we've got 76 laps to go, plenty of miles left. If fuel comes into deciding it, sometimes you can sneak in there and steal one at the end of the day.
Well, you definitely can. We'll remember some races earlier this year where fuel mileage played into effect. And that C.C. Walliver team that Todd's driving for, they won the Charlotte race last year with Mike McLaughlin on a fuel mileage run. So those guys do know how to get fuel mileage out of their cars.
Mike, am I correct, too, that fuel mileage has a lot to do with the way the car is handling? You develop a big push in one of these runs, you're going to be burning a lot more fuel.
Well, it definitely is, Joe. It's how free the car rolls through the corner, how smooth the driver is on the accelerator, the gearing and the jetting that's in the car.
And that's not helping Todd be smooth on the accelerator there, racing hard with Dick Trickle there. Trickle is running back in 28th position, a couple of laps down. Jeff Burton involved, got some nose damage in the hood of his car back in the lap 1 crash at the very start of this event. Dropped to the end of the field after a green flag pit stop, but has come all the way back up into the 7th position. His brother Ward is running up in the 2nd spot right now. So it's after a bumpy start. It's looking to be a pretty good day here for the Burton brothers. There's Jeff in the yellow number 9 car, racing Hunt Strickland there as they come off the corner. And Ward Burton, we mentioned, up in 2nd spot now. He is behind Dale Earnhardt Jr. by a pretty good bit, about a half a straightaway between 2nd place Ward Burton and up to the race leader Dale Earnhardt Jr. So there is Ward Burton, the older brother, and there's the younger brother, Jeff Burton. Jeff is very close to his brother Ward. He might owe his love for racing to Ward, who used to race go-karts at a young age. His little brother followed along. Go-kart trophies and all other kinds of activities as youngsters together to NASCAR victory lanes. As now very fine young men, Virginia's Burton brothers continue to challenge each other in both the NASCAR Busch and NASCAR Winston Cup Series levels. The rivalry between the two, 3 times this season on the Winston Cup level. Jeff has finished 1st, Ward has finished 2nd, and Ward gets
my suggestion, Jeff, do not pass him if you get up there. If this family's going to continue, or Mama's going to have to intervene.
Yeah, she sure does. Dale Earnhardt Jr., the race leader, still cruising along here in Homestead. You're watching NASCAR on NBC.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm here with Cal Petty. And Cal, I hear that Adam's out there, but he's driving. He's got the flu real bad. How's he doing? Did he say anything?
Yeah, you know, he felt real bad all week. It's been a big week for him. Sprint announced they were going to sponsor him in 5 Winston Cup races, and he got all excited, and he's just been all excited about that. As a Hot Wheels race, they had an IV in him right before the race started, so I put my uniform on to come out here and relief drive for him, but he's hanging tough right now. I think I'm more proud of him right now because it's just been a big week for him, and he's been so excited, and he just wants to finish up.
That's good. I'll tell you one thing, Alan and guys up there, the 66 car didn't stop till lap 115. Now they're planning without any caution on going the rest of the way to the checker without a stop.
There you see the serial scoring on Todd Bodine, who has moved up nicely through the field after starting well back in 35th position. He is up to the 8th position now. And let's talk about his fuel numbers for just a minute. How many he ran before he made his pit stop on this last green flag run, and how many are left to go?
Well, in the 66 car, Todd Bodine ran 83 laps under the previous stop. When he come in and pitted, he left having to run 84 laps. So it's just about an equal balance, and all he's got to do is conserve fuel just just ever so slightly. And probably when he came down pit road, he wasn't out of fuel. So I'd say the sleeper of the whole story is right now is going to be fuel mileage. If we don't have another caution, Todd Bodine's got a shot to win this thing.
Mike, what can a driver do? What's he trying to do here?
What the driver can do is just be easier on the throttle, not get back into throttle as hard, be very smooth, roll into the throttle, as they say. Just don't jam the throttle real hard.
And as far as Joe Nemechek, we heard Dorsey Schrader report earlier that Nemechek maybe was going to try and run the distance. The numbers on him don't look so good.
No, if Joe could pull that one off, that's pretty big. He came in, he had run 79 laps on his previous stop, but had 88 laps to go when he went back out. It seems awful hard to figure he could stretch it 9 more laps, which is, just a pretty good ways to go there.
So our speculation, we don't think Nemechek can make the distance. We believe Todd Bodine can. We also believe Dick Trickle can make the finish on fuel. He stopped with 82 laps to go after running 85 laps. The only problem for Trickle is he's a lap down in 25th position, so that might get him to sneak up there for a top 10, but it is not going to get him enough to get the victory. Marty Snyder can add more on this. Marty?
Well, Hank Parker has had a great car all day long. He's had a fast car, but Barry Dotson, the guy who's kind of acting as a team manager, has told him to back off a little bit because they're going to try to go all the way on fuel too. Now that would be 90 laps on a tank of fuel, and as far as I can guess, I'm not great with math, Alan is, but that's not going to make it. But Barry says they should run out of fuel on the backstretch or in turn 3 on the last lap, and they think they can coast around to the start-finish line. We'll have to see.
All right, so throw Hank Parker Jr. into the mix of those trying to stretch the fuel to the finish.
The Marines are on the charge.
Yeah.
They're saying
I always say this. I've been in this situation as an owner. Your heart goes up in your throat. You're scared. These last 10 laps are going to be something that you really are fearful the entire time.
They're saying Hank Parker Jr. is going to get about 6 miles a gallon for the remainder of this race. That's awful good fuel mileage. But the one thing they don't want to do, they don't want to come back down pit road. They've had 2 stops that haven't been good for them. They'll gamble it.
Mike, isn't it a risk on a track this big, too? I mean, if you happen to run out here on the front stretch, can you even make it back into pits?
I definitely wouldn't want to run out on the front straightaway. You could maybe coast around, but you lose so much speed.
Up next, our NASCAR weekend continues on NBC. Well, there's Jimmy Johnson slowing down. Look at the right rear corner of his car. Some damage there. Wonder if he's bounced off the outside wall. But the youngster from the Wisconsin area, running back in 27th position, slowing down on the Speedway and coming to pit road.
You can see the car's already been in the wall. What you can notice right here, right now, right in the left rear tire area, that side has hit the wall and shoved the track bar over. Got damage on the right rear quarter panel. Left rear tire is shoved out to the left side, so there's more damage than just a slight bend of the wall there.
23-year-old Sussex, Wisconsin is his hometown. Former off-road truck racer and a former ASA competitor who is going to be full-time in the NASCAR Busch Series next season. Let's go down to pit road and Mike Massaro.
And Jimmy Johnson now coming to a rolling stop in his pit stall. Team going to work on the right side. They'll take 2 tires there. No chassis adjustments. The crew very happy with the way the all-cell machine is operating right now. Full can of 76 racing fuel. A little bit of damage now to the right rear of that machine. They're hammering it out right now, going to work on that car. So far, they've had no luck. They're still pulling away sheet metal from the front end now and working on the right side.
Crew Chief Tony Liberati with his head up under the right rear tire there, trying to assess the damage, and now he's going to bolt the right rear back on as the crew also looks to fix the right front fender. And the youngster Johnson in some trouble here before the finish at Homestead. 140 laps complete, 200 make up the distance, so we are just past the 200-mile mark of this event, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. continues to lead. He has been the man throughout the race. Except for pit stops, he's held the lead going all the way back to lap number 29 of this event. You're watching NASCAR on NBC. Flying high above the Homestead-Miami Speedway, the Bud 1 airship. To all racing fans, this Bud's for you. Budweiser, the official beer of NASCAR, and the Bud 1 airship, proud to provide spectacular aerial shots of our race weekend. It is a spectacular speedway, the Homestead-Miami Speedway. Palm trees all around, mid-November. Let's see, we've been coming here now since 1995 for these NASCAR Busch Series races NASCAR has, and it is not a bad place to be weather-wise.
Alan, don't tip everybody up north.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. is the race leader. You saw Dale. We look back now at the race for 7th and 8th positions. Jimmy Spencer just went by Todd Bodine, and right behind Todd Bodine I believe that is the Elton Sawyer car. Indeed it is, who runs in 9th position. So those three racing for spots. Interesting, Spencer by Bodine. Todd in fuel conservation mode. We've already documented that, trying to make the finish. 84 laps on a tank of fuel. So is he just letting some of these guys go, figuring he'll catch up to them when they hit pit road later?
I would say he is. You know, his team, as we said, they know how to get fuel mileage for that team there, and they're telling him just to be conservative on it. Somebody comes up and challenges, leave him go. Just drive with him if you can. Draft with him as much as you can. Not quite that close of a draft, you know, but they would like.
That was a close call there.
Todd and his group, they don't want a caution. There's a bunch of other guys out there that won't want it.
Yeah, seeing an advantage for Todd right now, Alan, is he let Jimmy by him, and he's just going to try to draft with him. The draft is still important at a racetrack, even though it's flat. It's a mile and a half in size. So he can run behind him, break the air, be a little easier on the fuel mileage. It'll be a plus for him.
As long as he runs behind him and not runs into him like that close call a minute ago. Now here's Ward Burton, the second place car. He is, depressing for him, 10 seconds behind Dale Earnhardt Jr. 53 laps to go. Can he do anything to get up there and challenge the series champion? Mike Massaro's on pit road with Ward Burton's crew chief.
Well, Alan, we're about to find out. As you know, Ward Burton very strong all afternoon. Before the last stop, they were complaining the car was a bit loose. They have tightened it up and hope to have corrected the problem. But the question for Tommy Baldwin is, what do you need in order to catch the 3 car?
A jet engine and probably 4 extra tires right now. You know, he's setting a real fast pace today, and you know, this Siemens Pontiac's going pretty good, but it's not fast enough to beat that 3 car. And actually, the 53 car that's in 3rd place is going pretty good right now too. But you know, we're hoping to get a caution flag so we can make some good adjustments on this car and hopefully go for the win later stages of the race.
Beyond the jet engine, some guys are saying they may be able to go the distance without stopping for fuel. How about you guys?
Now, I'll probably go to lap 182 at the furthest and you know, come in for a quick fuel stop, maybe right side tires, gain some more time on the 3 car. But you know, I think we're just racing for second right now.
Well, Tommy Baldwin and Ward Burton both waiting for a yellow flag and hoping it will come out. Alan?
Only had a couple of yellow flags so far in this race. First one came out on the very first circuit of the event. They dropped the green. The field roared off to turn number 3. They stacked about a half a dozen of them up to the outside wall. Stan Barrett got spun around underneath Joe Nemechek, collected Matt Kenseth, Shane Hall, Lyndon Amick, Bobby Hamilton Jr., Ron Hornaday, Jeff Burton, Jason Keller, and that one, the other caution came at lap 33 for some debris, piece of metal off a car up on the back straightaway. Other than that, we've been green the whole way through, so that's from lap 33 to where we are now at lap 150, through a set of green flag pit stops, basically from the first pit stops under caution at 33, through the green flag stops to now. You are looking at the story. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has been the man so far today. Hank Parker Jr. running in 3rd place. He's been a terrific story today, too. His day's had enough roller coasters in it to keep Coney Island happy for a long time.
Well, he does, Alan. You know, I really feel sorry for him because he's running such a phenomenal race, and he's got such a great race car right there, but he's come down pit road twice now, and he's had to race his way back from there. And that's just really hard on a driver. You know, you're happy that you got a really good car, but so frustrating, Joe.
It's one of the other things too, Mike. You're really trying to evaluate the drivers in Busch. Many times you have to say, hey, their team's not quite as good as the juniors. You know, so you're trying to evaluate them as a talent and say, hey, if we get him a good stuff, good equipment, this guy could go to the front.
Without a doubt. And that's, you know, I was noticing Tommy Baldwin, who is Ward Burton's Winston Cup crew chief, who's been there helping him. You know, that's some real good camaraderie for Ward on a Busch Grand National car.
Looking at Jeff Green here, Matt Kenseth involved in that big wreck on lap number 1. He's running in 39th position, 26 laps behind the leader, Dale Earnhardt Jr. And so Jeff Green should pass Matt Kenseth for 2nd place in the championship standings. And this is the car running behind Green on the racetrack, Joe Nemechek. He runs 5th overall. He's not all that far behind Green in terms of trying to run up there and catch him. Now, Nemechek is one of the guys who thinks he's going to go to the finish on the tank of fuel he has now, but that would mean 88 laps to the finish. Dorsey Schrader, that's stretching it a little much. What do you think?
Well, they think exactly the same thing. They think it's stretching it too far, so they're set up to do a very quick splash and go. They don't believe they can make it to the end.
Well, there you go. So the calculators get busy, and what we were talking about before, Mike, was, I guess, well, it might be a strong phrase, but I'll use it anyway, sanity prevails.
Yeah, definitely. You know, the way it all lays out, and I think we've been pretty good up here on analyzing it, there's only one car that actually has a shot to go to fuel mileage to win this race, and that's Todd Bodine right now.
And I think Todd's backed off. I think the other cars are running hard right now. They're actually trying to go as hard as they can, thinking they'll come in for a splash. But I think he's backed off as a driver, and the whole team saying, let's try and win this thing on gas mileage.
Here's Nemechek trying to catch Green for the 4th position. Behind Nemechek is Jeff Burton running in 5th. In 6th position, rather, is Jeff Burton. It's been an up-and-down day for him as well in that big scrum in turn 3 on the first lap. The nose of this Ford was damaged. You see some of the 200-mile-an-hour tape Band-Aids applied there. He had to do that on a green flag pit stop at lap number 14. Almost a lap down when the debris caution came at lap number 33. That was a big break for him, kept him on the lead lap, and now he's back into the top 10.
That's a typical graphic for him. Starting to the back, going to the front.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether it's Busch or Cup.
Only this time he started in the middle, went to the back.
There you go, yeah.
And now he's back up to the front.
A little bit of a variance.
There you go. Jeff Burton running in 6th at this point. We are closing in quickly on the 250-mile mark of today's event. Dale Earnhardt Jr. continues to roll on. You're watching NASCAR on NBC.
Welcome back to Homestead, everyone. And heartbreak for the leader, Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the racetrack. His car was running great. He had no indication, but all of a sudden the right front tire went flat. He thinks he ran over something, and they changed right side tires for Dale Earnhardt Jr., and he lost a lot of ground here on pit road.
There you see it, up the banking in turn number 3.
He just drove down the corner, the car didn't turn. It was instantly just, let's get it to pit road. We don't want to take a gamble, wrecking this thing or hurting myself. But, you know, this may not play out too bad. He was going to have to stop anyway. Right. Now he's got fresh right side tires, so he's going to run faster for a period of time than a lot of the other cars. Other guys are going to come in and probably gas and go only, so may not be all that bad if we go to the end.
Earnhardt Jr. did stay on the lead lap by just getting the right side tires. He is in 12th position now and will gain a lot of those spots back, but he was leading this thing going away. And if there's no more caution for the end of the race, it could cost him the victory if Todd Bodine makes the economy run to the checkered flag. So that has turned the lead over to Hank Parker Jr., who, while we were away in the break, passed Ward Burton for 2nd. And then when Earnhardt Jr. had his problems, it put the youngster up into the top spot. There he is in the Team Marines car. Parker Jr. is just driving his guts out. That's an expression some of the drivers like to use, but he is driving a phenomenal race.
Alan, we talked about some of the young talent saying, hey, I'm ready. I want an opportunity in Busch to show people what I can do. I think this is a great example of a young talent here. I think there'll be some people right now in Winston Cup saying, hey, this guy looks like he's got a lot of talent. And that's what you're looking for as a young person trying to get an opportunity to race at Busch and signal that, hey, I am somebody that wants a full-time Busch ride or a chance to move up to Winston Cup.
Now you see the Marines logos on the side of his car. The Marine Corps does not spend their tax dollars sponsoring this car. This is a former Marine who's done well in business by the name of Rick Rathbun, who writes the check to put the Marine Corps logo on that car for you to see as his way of thanking the Corps for all that it's done for him. And so it's not your tax money that's supporting that racing program, but it is a former Marine through his benevolence that's backing this Hank Parker Jr. racing effort.
You know, I read the article on that, Alan, and that gentleman is, as they say, proud to be a Marine and wants everybody to really show it this way through his race.
Parker Jr. had his hands full off the corner there a lap ago. A big wiggle there up off turn 4, but he gathered it up and kept on charging. He's got a 1.5-second lead over Ward Burton. Looking back, Joe Nemechek has gotten around Jeff Green. And now with the Earnhardt Jr. problem that has put Nemechek to 3rd position and Green back to the number 4 spot. So it's Parker Jr., Ward Burton, Joe Nemechek, Jeff Green, and now Jeff Burton. Todd Bodine in 6th. 7th spot is David Green, then Jimmy Spencer, Randy LaJoie, Elton Sawyer, and then Dale Earnhardt Jr. who's moved up to the 11th position now, passing Rich Bickle a moment ago. Down to pit road, Marty Snyder.
Well, Alan, you remember what happened last week to Dale Jarrett at Phoenix, and he ran over a tab from an aluminum can. May have been what happened to Dale Earnhardt Jr. This is the hole that caused Dale Earnhardt Jr. to feel that the right rear tire was flat. That's what happened. He ran over something that was 10 pounds lower than when he came in. But as Mike Wallace mentioned, they don't think it's going to hurt him because they had to stop anyway, and now they have fresh right side tires.
could be a $72,000 puncture. That is the winner's share of today's event that Earnhardt Jr. is no longer in position to get. And we drop back once again to Joe Nemechek and Jeff Green racing for third and fourth positions. Now, the big wrinkle to all of this for Earnhardt Jr. and the rest is the fact that we think Todd Bodine can go to the finish on fuel if there's no caution flag. And Todd right now is running in the 6th position, and he is 14 seconds behind the leader. You can't get down pit road even for the most minimal splash of fuel back onto the racetrack in less than 14 seconds.
Well, without a doubt. You know how long pit road is. We lost over a minute getting down pit road, getting back on it. So
Jeff Purvis way up the racetrack there. Had a flat tire earlier in the event in the Ford car. So he is running back in the field. He, let's see, update Purvis. 31st position is Jeff. He's 3 laps down, the race leader. Here's Mark Martin back behind the wheel. The big lap 1 crash. He was one of the cars that got some damage. Didn't seem to slow him down any. He came back up through the field after a pit stop for fresh tires, but came about halfway through the field and then went no farther. And Martin is running in 15th position now, and he is the last car on the lead lap at this point. So Martin kind of hanging in there as the race leader's right up behind him.
it definitely is. That's a pretty impressive sight for Hank Parker Jr. to be getting ready to lap Mark Martin.
He's not too excited, is he?
He's probably got the radio keyed going, can you guys believe this? Look what's happening here.
It's like we talked about at the very top of our broadcast today. The young guys get a chance to measure themselves against the greats, and I'm sure Hank Parker Jr. could care less that Mark Martin's car got nicked up in that accident. If he passes Mark, he's going to have a big smile on his face.
Well, he definitely is. Like we hit earlier, too. You know, I'm really happy for his dad, Hank Parker Sr., a great fisherman there, but he's put a lot of effort into Hank Parker's career here, and it's all paying off right now.
Here is Ward Burton, second place a moment ago on pit road. Mike?
And Alan, we mentioned that Ward Burton could not go the distance on fuel, taking advantage of a stop right now. They'll bring him in, go to work on the right side. Now they'll wheel around to the left side. A 4-tire change for Ward Burton, also a chassis adjustment. Still hoping to tighten up this car. They'll take on 2 cans of fuel and they're away in 17.9 seconds. A good stop for Ward Burton.
That must be an example of a team looking for a caution. Am I right there, Mike? Because now he can stay on the track, keep position. Otherwise, you got to say he wouldn't take a 4-tire stop.
You wouldn't think so unless the car was just going away and they didn't think they could make up any time. And they put 4 tires on. Maybe they have some background on how much quicker the 4 tires were than the 2.
Yeah, I agree with you, Joe. I'm kind of surprised they took 4. Here's Mike Skinner on pit road, getting service from his team. Skinner running back in 22nd position at the time of his stop, not in contention for the win at this point. He's going to go for 2 tires.
2 tires, and you also notice the windshield, man. They got a plastic film they put on the windows now. Instead of having to wipe them off, you just reach over, tear the film off. It gives the driver a new view again.
After the pit stop by Ward Burton, Hank Parker Jr. has opened up a 7-second lead on what is now second place Joe Nemechek. As you look back at some of the other cars a little farther in, Jimmy Spencer in the white car, the 12 machine there, he's in 8th position now. And here's David Green giving up a spot on the lead lap for a pit stop. Green 10th at the time of his visit to the pit lane. Green will start from the number 1 spot for tomorrow's Pennzoil 400 here on NBC Sports. You can see it at 12:30 Eastern Time. First ever Winston Cup pole position for David yesterday. He'll be excited when we talk to him before the race tomorrow. For now, though, he's trying to get himself a top 10 finish, and all kinds of troubles there on that 2-tire stop.
Boy, they had some problems there. First of all, the right rear guy threw his jack bolt in there. The extension was about a foot too long for him, so he was having to reach to put wedge in the car. Little problem on the right front. The guy pulled the windshield screen off. Got a
So troubles for David. We'll see what that costs him in terms of position here over the final 30 laps. We're getting down to it. Tim Fedor with a little hiccup off of turn 4 as the leader Hank Parker Jr. dusts him off on the inside. Fedor had moved up to the 12th position after starting back in 40th. Here's a look.
What happens here? Looks like a 22 of Bobby Hamilton.
Uh-oh.
No.
Yep, he got it.
It's like, okay, you're not out of the way yet. I'll get you out of the way. So
nice
you can
save.
see the hand movement saving the car. Tim did a great job of hanging on to it.
And so Fedor a little bit off the pace here. Again, he had a terrific run in the early part of the race. 40th up to 12th, but he is losing some positions here as he appears to be a little bit off the pace. 29 laps to go. Hank Parker Jr. trying to become a first-time NASCAR winner. You're watching NASCAR on NBC. Huge moment in Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s race here. If he has passed Todd Bodine, the fuel mileage factor is out of the equation. Earnhardt Jr., the rally is on. He is by Todd Bodine for the 4th spot.
Well, it definitely is. You can tell those right side tires have helped his car a lot. You know, we talked about it not being a big factor once he had to pit because everybody else. Now the fuel mileage factor's out the window. We'll see how it shakes out.
It's out the window for Todd.
Yeah, it's out the window for Todd. It's also out the window for Joe Nemechek, who's just come down pit road for a splash. Mike Massaro.
And Alan Nemechek, it appeared the entire team was going to gamble. They do take a splash and go, but 2 tires here for Joe Nemechek. Brian Patty had oiled his cards close to his vest. Wasn't sure if he was going to stop. Wouldn't tell us if he was going to stop. Just kind of sprung this one out of nowhere. Came down pit road, took 2 tires and a splash and go.
So Nemechek heads back up onto the speedway. Hank Parker Jr. is the leader. Jeff Burton is 2nd. Now Earnhardt Jr. is 3rd. As we look at a Pontiac field summary, they're the top 3. Looking back a little deeper into the field, now Todd Bodine in 4th, so the fuel mileage gambit goes away for Todd. And the question becomes, can Parker Jr. stretch the fuel to the finish? 90 laps on a tank of fuel?
I don't believe he can, Alan, but I think what you're going to see is when Hank comes down pit road, they will not put tires in that car. They'll only splash and go it only.
They have had some troubles on their first 2 pit stops in the race with the tire changes. Plus, it's going to be so late in the race that if they're going to have any chance to win, their only hope's going to be to take a little bit of fuel and get him back out there.
I think back to those pit stops, dude, for Hank Parker Jr. Where would this race be right now? That shows you an example of how important that is, and that's as an owner, how much emphasis you put on tire changers, tire carriers, a jack man, the whole team, so that that driver has great support when he comes in for a pit stop. It's crucial.
Watching Randy LaJoie, who's moved up to 5th position here through the cycle of pit stops. There's Randy, 20 seconds behind the leader. Those are the numbers on the right of our field summary. You see Nemechek now, the first car 1 lap down. Here's Mark Martin in for service. 28 laps to go for Mark. He'll give up the 12th position for a visit here. So really what all this rides on, as Jeff Burton is also on pit road behind him, so the 2nd place car Burton is in. What all of this rides on is, when will Parker Jr. have to come in? Martin, lower of your screen, Burton up top. Final pit stops for those with 20 laps to go.
Okay, Jeff Burton just leaves the pits. They took outside tires. They took 2 rounds of wedge out of the back, and he's underway.
So Burton heads back onto the speedway. And now it's just a matter of Hank Parker Jr. Does he stop? Does he ride it out to the finish? If he rides it out, when will he run out? Or will he? And the other side of the coin is, too, Earnhardt Jr. is closing. He's got a long way to go to catch Parker Jr., 14 seconds, but with 19 laps to go, if Parker's really got to save a lot of fuel, what do you think?
Well, you know, Dale Jr. is in such a role right now. I mean, Parker Jr. is running very well, but I just cannot believe he can go that distance on fuel. I mean, it's a gamble, but they're gonna, I'd say they're going to try it. I mean, you know, they're far enough. If they pit now, they're going to get themselves back up so far that, you know, they've had such a great run, and no guts, no glory, I guess.
His crew chief, Barry Dodson, I'd say this, if there's a guy to make a good decision, a lot of experience, and it'd be interesting. I'd like to know what he's thinking.
Earnhardt Jr. with a huge wiggle off turn 4 there.
He's hustling it up. He had the car way down on the bottom of the racetrack, trying to get up underneath Mike Dillon there.
He's trying to close that gap on Hank Parker Jr. He's looking. He wants to get a chunk of that 14 seconds.
To quote the old Jerry Reed song, he's got a long way to go and a short time to get there.
It could be a duet.
Folks probably wouldn't care to hear us sing, I guarantee you that. There's Parker Jr. start-finish line. He is about to put a lap on, well, actually Ward is unlapping himself on Parker Jr. there. Again, Hank easing off the throttle. And Earnhardt Jr. with that full half lap to try and make up to catch Parker. I just don't know. Parker is really off the gas here, and Earnhardt Jr. just might be able to get there. Marty Snyder has more on Hank Parker.
Well, I won't say Barry Dodson's worried yet, but I will say he's in the pits kind of chewing his fingernails, but he has whipped out a can of ether, and that is if they run out of fuel, all he has to do is spray that in the cowl and it will crank it back up. They did just now get that out, so they're a little, he doesn't want to show it, but they're a little bit worried they might run out of fuel, but they're going to stick it out. And they are tapping us on the shoulder, so I believe Hank Parker might be out of fuel on the racetrack right now.
Barry Dodson up off the wall. Hank Parker is not out of fuel, but he is wiggling the car back and forth, so maybe that fuel pickup is starting to hiccup a little bit. We have a car stalled on the racetrack. The caution is out. Randy LaJoie has stalled off turn 2 and on the back straightaway. Yellow flag, 16 laps to go, and that 15-second interval Parker Jr. had over Earnhardt Jr. is gone.
Yes, but he didn't have to stop under green. He's going to roll down pit road. He can put 4 tires on now. That's the big thing.
A couple of weeks ago, Dale Earnhardt Jr. wore a driving suit with a Superman logo on it. Coming back from a flat tire to potentially win this thing today, he's driving like Superman this afternoon. Not even the, well, I won't say that the tire was kryptonite, but.
You know, Joe hit on it earlier, though. They just have such a great organization. The whole team, Tony Uri Jr., Dale Jr. driving the car, all the DEI group. That's what makes the team package run so good.
Taking a drink out of the water bottle you saw there, that hose he had up in his mouth. And now we'll see if Earnhardt Jr. comes to pit road. 15 laps to go, and 8 cars on the lead lap. Well, there's 5 cars on the lead lap, actually. So what do you think? There are 3 more that are on the tail end of the lead lap, but I believe...
I would say all the leaders are going to come down pit road and put on tires.
Well, let me update here. Now as those cars come around, they did beat Hank Parker Jr., so it's going to be 8 cars on the lead lap. And let's see who pits. Parker Jr. we see will. Earnhardt Jr. will. Todd Bodine will. Jimmy Spencer will. Farther back, Joe Nemechek will come down pit road.
Now we got a great race on pit road.
Yeah.
This is going to be fun.
Parker Jr.'s crew has a chance to redeem themselves. Hiccups on both of their pit stops earlier in the race. What's going to happen now? Earnhardt Jr. saying, hurry up, I want to get to my pit. Let's go to Marty Snyder for the 2 pit stops.
Well, and what a break for Hank Parker Jr. He did radio to Barry Dodson to say, I'm starting to run out of fuel. There he comes in. They're going to change right side tires. Jr. had to come in because Hank Parker was coming in, and they knew he was going to get tires. This is the race where he gets 1 on pit road. Hank Parker Jr. is going to take 4. So is Dale Earnhardt Jr. And so far, Hank Parker Jr.'s team doing a pretty good job. They're keeping up with Jr.'s team, but Jr.'s team drops the jack first, and they'll win the race off pit road. Hank Parker not too far behind.
What a duel.
that was a perfect example. Actually, Earnhardt helping Hank Parker Jr. there because he happened to be right in front of him. Junior's trying to get to his pit stop, and he actually helped him with the gas mileage, shoving him down where he needed to go. I think he was out of gas.
You know, at the same time there, Dale Jr. is pretty smart. It's kind of intimidating the younger driver. You know, come down, tap him in the back, and hustle down to your pit stop. Come on, you're going to get the speed penalty, not me, because I'm behind you.
I think he actually he helped Hank Parker Jr. there. I think it was a good break for Hank in that case. This will be interesting.
One of the scenarios that's playing out is that Ward Burton, he pitted for 4 tires under green, stayed out on the racetrack.
So Ward will come back up through, and is he going to take over the race lead? Where's the pace car here? Ward should be the race leader. So Ward has stayed out on the racetrack. He's going to take over the top spot. Nemechek will take over second, then Earnhardt Jr. and Spencer and Hank Parker Jr. So that's a big twist there. Ward just made a pit stop, took the 4 tires under the green flag, so why take any more?
Right.
All right.
See how this scoring all shakes out, because Jeff Burton had also come in, but he put 2 tires on. He stayed out also, so you have to see how that all works out here.
It's going to be Ward Burton, the race leader. There you look at him there in the 02 car. He will be up front, and it should be in second. That's the lap car of Tim Fedua. Then you'll get Joe Nemechek in second. He stayed out. Then the Dale Earnhardt Jr. car, who was the first one off the pit lane.
Nemechek came in and put 2 tires on when everybody else pitted for 4. I was watching him as they left. He was going to win the race off of pit road is what happened there.
Okay, Spencer.
Mike, with this many laps left, 4 tires has definitely got to be better than 2, right?
Without a doubt.
If you're sitting there as the driver.
You know, it just depends how, though, your car was going. You know, Ward's got his tires up to pressure already. You know, he pitted just not too many laps ago under green. They're already up to pressure. I mean, the air pressure's built up on him. Maybe the car's freed up the way he wants to drive. It'd be a great race here.
The other part of this is how quick are they going to turn them loose? How many laps we're going to have left? I'll have a lot to say about this also.
Yeah, they're going to get the 1 to go signal when they come to the start-finish line this time. So that'll be 12. There'll be 11 laps to go in the race. So let's recap all of this here. Kind of a wild twist of events here in the late going. When they were trying to run to the finish on fuel, Dale Earnhardt Jr. negated Todd Bodine's economy run by passing him on the racetrack. Then the caution comes out, making up the 14 seconds that Earnhardt Jr. was in arrears to Parker Jr. They come down pit road. Earnhardt Jr. gets out first of those who got 4 tires. But Joe Nemechek gets 2. Ward Burton stays on the racetrack after a green flag pit stop of a little while ago. So we've got all kinds of different chassis and tire combinations setting up at the front of the field here for a short sprint to this finish.
What we really got, which is exciting, is Ward Burton's the leader of the race, but there's 3 cars in the tail end of the lead lap lined up in front of him. So that's going to slow him up just a little bit. He's not going to be able to charge out in the front like if he was, just setting the pace of the race.
Getting a look at those cars, they are the machines of Jeff Burton, Kevin LePage, and David Green. Burton in the yellow car there, the first 3 in the outside lane. Burton, LePage, and David Green stayed on the racetrack when the leaders pitted, but did not get back to the start-finish line before the race leader Hank Parker did. So they were caught a lap down. When Parker peeled off the racetrack, they were the first ones behind the pace car, and Ward Burton came up behind them. So it can be kind of confusing when you get in these situations, but those 3 drivers, Jeff Burton, Kevin LePage, and David Green, are on the tail end of the lead lap, hoping for a restart, a quick caution, and then the chance to come back around and get in the thick of things for the win.
Yeah, that's just going to slow Ward on the takeoff off just a little bit, though.
They have waved off the restart to make sure they have everybody in the proper order on the restart. So another 1-to-go signal being given here at the start-finish line, and they'll get the restart next time by with 10 laps to go in the race. This one looked like a cakewalk for Earnhardt Jr. for a while, and then he had his problems, came back from the problems, looked like he had it again. And now some teams are playing strategy on him, and he's going to have to really work in these final 10 laps.
He's going to have to get himself through that traffic. There's a lot of cars in front of him. This could be a wild finish.
Earnhardt Jr. going to try and break a tie with Mark Martin for most victories in the NASCAR Busch Series this season. Earnhardt Jr. and Mark each with 6 victories so far. Let's go to Dorsey Schrader. Dorsey?
Well, Joe Nemechek's calling to Brian Patty. He's really upset that the lap traffic will not get out of his way. Patty's saying, get a jump on the start. We only have 11 laps to go. You can win this race. But there's guys in front that are not giving him the courtesy to get around.
Well, Nemechek is talking about the cars on the tail end of the lead lap who don't, I assume he's talking about them. They don't have to give way.
They don't have to.
So we're going to go back at it with 10 laps to go. 3 cars on the tail end of the lead lap on older tires. Then Ward Burton, who also stayed on the racetrack under the caution. Then Joe Nemechek with 2 tires. And then Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's going to restart this race. 3rd position on the racetrack, but 6th in line. And see if he can't pull off the victory. 10 laps to go. The pace car's off. Here we go for the restart. The cars on the tail end of the lead lap, Jeff Burton, David Green, and Kevin LePage all got to the very bottom of the speedway. They're not in Ward Burton's way. He's got Joe Nemechek putting heavy pressure on him, though, back into turn 3.
Earnhardt's a long ways back right now, Alan, in traffic.
Todd Bodine way up the racetrack in turn 3, keeps it off the wall, continues, but loses a number of positions. Parker Jr. also shuffled way up the racetrack off turn 4. He loses positions as the race for the lead heads back for turn 1. Nemechek all over the back deck of Ward Burton. Ward with a wiggle up off the corner. 9 laps to go. Oh, 1 car in the wall. Adam Petty into the outside wall off turn 2. Is this going to bring out a caution? More cars involved. 4, 5 crashing off turn 2. Caution's out. Who gets back to the yellow flag first? Ward Burton leading off turn 4. He's going to get back to the yellow. As you see, Nemechek not able to get around him. Caution flag. 8 laps to go.
Well, they're going to have to hustle up to get this cleaned up and go back to green there, Alan. You've seen Adam Petty, unfortunately, got into the outside wall coming off of turn 2, and then chaos broke loose behind him, unfortunately.
Several cars involved in a wreck on the back straightaway off of turn number 2, putting out the caution flag with 8 laps to go in the race. It started when Adam Petty bounced off the outside wall, and then the chain reaction with the field bunched up for the restart behind him, and the mayhem was on one more time. You see the Todd Bodine car there sitting facing the wrong way on the racetrack as the leaders come by. Here's another look. Hamilton Jr. around, Casey Atwood involved, Todd Bodine involved. That's Dick Trickle slammed into the outside wall. Parker Jr. spins behind.
I think what you've seen was just a big chain reaction. Bobby Hamilton seen Adam Petty get into the wall. He checked up off the corner. You see Adam getting into the wall right there, sliding down. Now the wreck's going to happen. The big wreck's happening behind him. As the 22 car seen it happening, he checked up and everybody just got in the back of him. That's the bad problem on restarts when everybody's bundled up with 10 laps to go. You're trying to gain positions and it happens.
Here's the ride from Casey Atwood right into the middle of the storm.
Many times you get your car stopped, but you're worried about getting stopped, Mike, because somebody catches you from behind, just like that.
I think what we've seen happen is just how we called it there. You know, they seen the wreck happening, they checked up, and the guy right behind him couldn't get checked up.
There's Todd Bodine out of his machine, so he is okay. Good news there. Todd went from being in position to try and make an economy run to the finish of this thing to having a torn-up race car. On the back straightaway, there's the Adam Petty machine on pit road. Attention to the right side damage on that car. So his day is going to end in less than enthusiastic manner. There's Casey Atwood walking from his car on the back straightaway. He is okay as well. Good news there.
It's just unfortunate, especially for Todd. He had a car that was in the lead lap. Maybe not in a position to win as the way it was straight, you know, lining out here, but now he's all tore up there without a chance of a finish.
Now there is so much debris scattered all across turn 2 that NASCAR has thrown the red flag. They are stopping the field down in turn number 1 in order to clean up the racetrack and get it back in condition for a finish, and more importantly, to not have all these drivers contending for the win, driving through all the metal and debris that's on the racetrack and possibly have one of them cost a victory by the minefield of debris that's out there in the corner till they can get it cleaned up and get them moving again.
We've seen that happen on a couple of cars already during this race. Cut tires on debris.
So we're under the red flag with 7 laps to go. Ward Burton's the winner. What can happen next? You're watching NASCAR on NBC. NBC Sports coverage of NASCAR today live from the Homestead-Miami Speedway, the NASCAR Busch Series season finale, the HotWheels.com 300 under the red flag with Ward Burton the race leader and only 7 laps to go in the event. There you see the top 10 in the race and the positions that they started in. We're under the red flag because of a multi-car accident off turn number 2 that came out after Adam Petty bounced off the outside wall, and then from there the wreck was on behind him. Let's take one more look at what happened off the corner.
As you can see, we were talking earlier, the 22 car right here, right in that area there, had checked up. What I mean by checking up, he got off the gas, probably on the brake, and everybody behind him was stacked up on his bumper and running the back of him.
No place to go. The field all bunched up tightly on a restart. That has got to be a miserable feeling from the driver's seat when you just see the world fall apart in front of you.
Oh, without a doubt.
And no place to go.
This may be an advantage for some of the cars. Earnhardt Jr. and some people like that have very strong cars if it's a single file restart.
There is Ward Burton, the race leader, sitting while the cleanup continues, hoping he can hold off Nemechek and Spencer and Earnhardt Jr. and the rest. By the way, the yellow flag, the break that Jeff Burton and Bobby Hamilton Jr. and Kevin LePage and David Green needed because, not to Hamilton Jr., but Burton, LePage, and Green, because they came back around to the tail end of the field, and they'll be in the mix when we run off a final 7-lap sprint for this thing. Well, we've still to decide who's going to win this thing. Stick around. Back for the finish in just a moment. Ward Burton is the race leader with 7 to go. You're watching NASCAR on NBC. Well, back in Miami, the HotWheels.com 300 for the NASCAR Busch Series under the red flag, but we will get the field rolling off here very shortly. You're looking at the leaderboard. It is Ward Burton trying to hold off an all-star cast, including Joe Nemechek, Jimmy Spencer, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Here are the rest of the top 10 drivers, including young Bobby Hamilton Jr., who came back around from his involvement in this wreck moments ago to cross the line in 8th position. Now let's take one more look at the accident off of turn number 2 and want you to listen to this. You think these guys don't hit hard? Listen.
That's a major blow right there, Alan. That hurts, I can tell you from a driver's standpoint.
And the other thing, Mike, you can't see the smoke and people turning. I mean, you're pretty much, that's got to be a scary feeling knowing, hey, I just got to hold the wheel and try and get through this.
Yeah. At times, Joe, it's just like closing your eyes and driving through it and hoping for the best at the other end. And, your spotter's up there trying to help, but getting off of turn 2, it's hard for the spotter to see over in that area.
So the field beginning to roll off from where they sat under the red flag, and there'll be 6 laps to go when they come back around. I believe they'll get the 1-to-go signal there. We'll have a 5-lap shootout to the finish. And look, Nemechek's car won't start. Now, because this is a red flag, he won't be penalized for this. They'll take a push truck and get him going, and then he'll be able to go back up in line. But that can't be a comfortable feeling when you're in position to win the race and you can't get it going.
Now you see Kenny Wallace pull up behind him, and he knows Joe's racing for the lead. Kenny's a couple laps down. Give him a push, get him started, let him get up there.
Those Wallace brothers, look at this.
Just the greatest guys you ever met, aren't they, Joe?
Made another, buddy.
So the fans on their feet getting ready for this final, what should be pretty dramatic sprint to the finish of this thing. Ward Burton stayed out under the caution flag. Joe Nemechek's got 2 tires, Spencer 4. We'll talk more about that in a minute. First, let's go to pit road and Mike Massaro.
Well, Alan, some tense moments not too long ago in the Ward Burton pit area. Just after the previous caution, Tommy Baldwin actually came over to our crew and inquired to what Joe Nemechek had done during the caution. We didn't know. We went out and found out. And he told them they took on 2 tires. He had nothing but a long face after that. But when this yellow flag came out, he radioed over to Ward and said, "Ward, this is exactly what we needed." Ward, however, just a little bit tentative, said, "It's not over yet." Alan?
Dorsey Schrader's on pit road with a further update. Dorsey?
Well, I talked to Brian Patty, and that's crew chief for Joe Nemechek, and right before that, of course, they came in, took 2 tires, went back out when we're racing, and Joe is extremely happy with the car. He says it's great. So they think that they're in really good shape. It's just a matter of getting around the car in front of them. Marty?
Well, I just talked to Tony Erie Sr., Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s crew chief, and said, "Can you catch him?" He said, "No way. We're only going to get a green flag with about 5 laps to go." And 2, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is not too happy with a set of tires. They're not as good as the last set that he had, although he does have 4. But Junior just came on the radio and said, "Hey, guys, let's clean off these tires and let's go win us a race."
He's got nothing to lose, especially after what he's been through already today. Just joining us or joining us later in our program, Earnhardt Jr. had this thing by a mile and then had a flat tire midway through the event, lap 158 of the 200. There you see the championship standings. Earnhardt Jr. already with the title locked up coming into the race. Matt Kenseth involved in a lap 1 crash that's going to cost him 2nd place in the Busch Series Championship by the end of the afternoon.
Alan, one thing that's going to help the good cars, for instance, like the Junior, is the fact that it's a single file restart now inside of 10 laps. So the lap cars are not going to be there to block them.
Now let's throw another wrinkle into this. There are 5 cars, I'll make it 4 cars that are on the lead lap that have just come down pit road to take on tires. Jeff Burton, Hank Parker Jr., Kevin LePage, and David Green are all on pit road here, getting tires for the final sprint to the finish, all on the lead lap. They're going to start 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. If Earnhardt Jr. doesn't think he has enough laps to get up there, they couldn't. Could they?
Well, they don't have anything to lose, Alan. They only got things to gain here. They come in, they're running towards the back of this lead group, put on tires, see if you can drive around them. That's what you're hoping is going to happen.
Top left of your screen, the big cloud of oil dry there as they drive through that to get the track back in raceable condition. So once again, just to kind of reset the position here, Ward Burton stayed on the racetrack. His last pit stop came onto the green at lap 167. He got 4 tires then. Joe Nemechek stopped under a caution flag a little while back, and he got 2 tires. That was at lap 186. So he's got 20 laps less on his right side tires than Ward.
And he's telling his guys he loves the car.
Yeah,
Alan.
Yeah, that's good. Then behind him, you've got Jimmy Spencer with 4 tires on the lap 186 stop, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. with 4 tires from the lap 186 stop. So those drivers are going to have probably 4, maybe 3 laps of a sprint to the finish here, as they're still working the track back into raceable condition before they can cut them loose. And there are at this point 5 laps to go with the pace car still out front. Going to have a single file restart when they go back at it. So the lap cars, remember Joe Nemechek was talking about some of the traffic. That's not going to be a factor for him. It's just going to be a matter of whether Ward Burton can make his Pontiac wide enough.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Wider is better.
Wider is better, isn't it?
There you go. We got a glimpse of Bobby Hamilton Jr. there a minute ago. He is all the way back at the tail end of the cars that are on the lead lap because he came down pit road when it was still closed. His damage from that accident, he drove right to the pit lane, wanted to get it looked at, but pit road wasn't open yet, so he goes back to the 10th position at the end of the restart line of those on the lead lap. So what do you think? Shall we make picks here? Got Joe Nemechek 2 tires, Spencer and Earnhardt Jr. 4, Ward Burton on the older tires.
I wouldn't gamble you one dime on the finish right now, Alan, because I'm going to tell you what, these guys are going to be like a bunch of unleashed tigers as soon as this thing goes back to green. You've got Ward up front, who's going to be in the major defensive mode to drive. You got Joe, who's got 2 tires, and he's aggressive. You got Jimmy Spencer, who's been known as Mr. Excitement, third. And then Dale Jr., who's sitting back there hoping they all get running together, run into each other, and he can drive on by them.
This is made for TV right here. This is perfect. This is what we wanted.
I want you to remember back to the very first NASCAR Busch Series race here. As you see the glare on the windshields as Jeff Green rides around, 5th in line. The very first NASCAR Busch Series race here at Homestead, November 1995. Last lap of the race. Dale Jarrett's running 4th. Goes into turn 3 on the final lap, and the 3 cars in front of him end up in a smoking heap up against the outside wall. He drives underneath him and wins the race.
You know, I remember that race. My brother Kenny was running second that time, going for the lead, and it was, I forget who else involved, and all 3 were wadded up down there in the corner. And, you know, as they say, it's never over till it's over, and this is a perfect example of it here today. Now we got the other scenario with the guys with the new tires still. We can't count them out. Those guys up front get to battle, and they're a little bit slower. Those guys can just drive on by them.
Be coming 4 wide off the final corner to the checkered flag.
It's going to be big.
I guarantee you NASCAR's got the photo finish camera warmed up, that's for sure. So waiting for the signal on when the restart will happen. They're still running through the large volume of oil dry that was put down over there in turn 2 and onto the back straightaway to try and soak up some of the liquid on the racetrack. And we are getting ready to go at it. Pace car is headed for pit road. Ward Burton says he's going to get on the gas now. Was it too early? Did he jump the restart? We'll find out in a minute. Green flag, 3 laps to go. Nemechek trying to catch up to him into turn 1.
Ward got a really good jump on it. Did he jump too quick is the question, but Jimmy Spencer's car, and here comes Dale Jr. up behind Spencer.
Ward Burton is going to be black flagged for jumping the restart. Burton is going to be black flagged for jumping the restart. He's going to have to come to pit road and answer the penalty. Nemechek will be the leader, 2nd car on the screen. There's a mark on the outside wall that you're not supposed to restart before. Ward was on that gas awful early. It's going to cost him as he gets the black flag at the start-finish line.
Boy, you talk about a heartbreaker there. You're just a little bit too intense. You want to go, and you know, here's one.
Off of turn 2 and up the back straightaway. 2 laps to go.
You go back to Joe Nemechek saying, hey, I got a great car here, even though it was 2 tires. It's going to be interesting if Ward has to pit here.
What is the rule there? How many laps does he have to honor the black flag, or has he got to do it right away?
You don't get any laps to honor the black flag. Once the black flag is put out, you are under penalty. White flag is in the air. Here comes Earnhardt Jr. around Spencer. Ward Burton pulls over in turn 1. Here comes Joe Nemechek underneath him on the last lap.
Boy, Allen's a dramatic finish there.
Ward Burton is going to be black flagged anyway. He's not going to finish there. That pass was almost academic, but it'll be Nemechek off of turn 4. After Burton makes a mistake on the final restop. To the line, checkered flag, 2nd win at Homestead. Joe Nemechek wins the 300 this afternoon. What a twist of events in this one.
Well, I tell you, we went from the middle stages of a race that just seemed like it was going to be a luller to us. Dale Earnhardt Jr. was going to dominate it, to a major crash with 10 to go, to jump to a restart, and Joe Nemechek has to be surprised that he won this race.
Ward Burton trying to get the jump on Joe Nemechek on the final restart with 4 laps to go. Jumped a little bit too early. The black flag from NASCAR. Nemechek will score the victory. His 2nd here at the Homestead-Miami Speedway. His 1st, the 1999 NASCAR Busch Series season. Very happy day for Nemechek and his race team. And of course, following him down on a ceremonial victory lap, Dale Earnhardt Jr., the 1999 NASCAR Busch Series champion. He went out in fine style today, had a strong run, wound up finishing in 2nd.
Well, they got double donuts going on down here. You know this. Well, the heck with the motors and those cars for today, right?
Stay out of the grass, guys.
And
run into
don't
each other
collide, guys, in the smoke.
This is going to be it. We're going to finish with a wreck at the finish line.
Joe Nemechek started 12th today. It was his first win of 1999. Third top 5 and fourth top 10 in 5 races here at Homestead, and his 15th win in the NASCAR Busch Series and the victory lap for Joe Nemechek after a wild finish to this HotWheels.com 300.
This is probably a really special day for Joe. You know, he's from the Florida area, or you're born and raised in this area, and the win down here is just really monumental for him.
Such a bittersweet track for Joe Nemechek. This is the place where his brother John lost his life in a racing crash a few years ago. Later that same year, Joe came here, went to victory lane. Another look at the restart here. Mike, there's a point on this outside wall off turn 4 that you're supposed to go at.
Right about here is where you're supposed to be picking up the gas. But Ward, you can tell, you know, he just aggressively jumped on the throttle, and it's a shame that the race had to be determined by that, but that's the rules.
There's Dale Earnhardt's team wanting to know what's happening. Tony Uri, the crew chief.
Yeah.
Coach, you never did that on the sideline, did you?
He's making, please, he's appealing. Yes, I've done that.
And there's Ward Burton dejected after a mistake that may have cost him the victory. For Joe Nemechek, it'll be the winner spoils in victory lane. We'll hear from him shortly. Back in a moment. You're watching NASCAR on NBC. Joe Nemechek receiving congratulations from his father, Joe, in victory lane, the winner of today's HotWheels.com 300. Tremendous turn of events at the finish, and Nemechek goes into victory lane. Let's go to Marty Snyder.
And there he is, today's winner, Joe Nemechek, climbing out. Oh, the beverages flying everywhere. How about you'll take them any way you can get them, won't you?
Oh, I take it anyway. I just got to thank this whole Bell South Mobility team, Chevrolet. I know my brother was watching over me today. It was great to have Mom and Dad here finally. They came to this race. They weren't at the one I won before, and it just means so much. You know, Marty's here. My brother Mark didn't make it, but it just means so much. I mean, we've been struggling all year, had our ups and downs, and we finally won one.
What were you thinking when Ward took off early? Did you know he jumped the restart?
Yeah, I couldn't figure out where he was going because, you know, there's explicit notes. You can't take off to the double red lines, and all of a sudden he took off. I thought Jimmy Spencer was going to pass me, and I thought I could get Ward. He didn't come in and get new tires, and we came in that last stop and got new lefts, and that made all the difference in the world. This car just really hooked good. Got to thank Billy Hess Race Cars. This old car is the old money winner right here.
And an emotional victory for Joe Nemechek today. Now let's go to Mike Massara with Ward Burton.
Thank you, Marty. Ward, a wild turn of events there, those last 10 laps. It looked like things were actually going to pan out for you, but then the black flag came out. What happened?
You know, NASCAR just obviously thought that I had jumped too soon. I was a little bit before the double stripe. It happens every week. Nobody starts a race right at double stripe. The 87 car was sleeping. He was weaving his tires back and forth and just caught him off guard. That's what looked like a big jump. I'll live with the decision. No big deal. Just learn from it. Learn from whatever we got to learn here.
Well, guys, Ward Burton obviously very disappointed. Back to Alan.
So Joe Nemechek is the winner as we look at the leaderboard and the finish of today's race. Earnhardt Jr. comes back from the early flat tire to finish second. Terrific run for Hank Parker Jr. all day, as well as Bobby Hamilton Jr. A couple of the youngsters we tipped off at the top of our show looking to make a name for themselves. They did it against the best of the business today with top 10 finishes. Let's go to Brian Williams. Brian?
Alan, thank you. Thanks to our crew here, everyone working for NBC Sports. And a reminder, coming up in just a few moments, join us to go behind the scenes, NASCAR behind the scenes, that is. Join Jeff Gordon and me, and another big reminder tomorrow, 12:30 Eastern, the Pennzoil 400 presented by Kmart. Will Dale Jarrett clinch the Winston Cup Championship. Again, stay with us. We'll be back in a few moments. That's it for now. From Homestead, I'm Brian Williams.